If you want to change your life, the first thing you need to change is your mind. Your thoughts shape everything: how you act, how you react, and ultimately how far you go. Rebuilding yourself mentally is not something that happens overnight. It takes patience, consistent effort, and a mindset shift that moves you from simply thinking about change to actually making it happen. In this video, we're going to dive into practical steps to train your mind for a new life. This is about doing the work that transforms your thoughts and behaviors into the foundation of lasting success. Forget the fluff, forget the shortcuts. What we're going to talk about today is the real deal, the action, the consistency, and the mindset shift needed to rebuild yourself mentally, starting today. I know that change feels difficult. You've probably felt stuck at times, like your mind is working against you, pulling you in different directions. But here's the truth. You have the power to take control. The thoughts you have and the actions you take are within your control. And with the right mindset, you can achieve more than you ever thought possible. Stick with me through this video, because we're going to focus on giving you real, actionable strategies to challenge your own thinking, take charge of your life, and build the mental strength you need to succeed in the long run. This isn't about wishful thinking or empty motivation. This is about building a life that reflects your true potential. If you're ready to commit to doing the work, then this video is for you. Let's get started on rebuilding your mind, your life, and your future. Chapter 1. Take control of your thoughts every single day. Everything in your life starts in your mind. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your actions, and the consistency of your actions shapes the direction of your life. If you want to rebuild yourself mentally, you cannot afford to live on autopilot. You cannot let your mind wander aimlessly through distractions, negativity, or self-doubt. You have to train your mind like a muscle every single day. Not just when it's easy or convenient, but especially when it's not. Taking control of your thoughts is the first and most important step toward building a new life from the inside out. It is the foundation of everything you will become. Most people live as if their thoughts are facts. They believe every worry, every fear, every self-judgment that enters their mind. But your thoughts are not always telling you the truth. Many of them come from past conditioning, old beliefs, fear-based habits, or emotional scars. If you don't take control of them, they will take control of you. They will guide your choices, shape your self-image, and limit your potential. This is why mental discipline is not a luxury, it is a daily necessity. You must learn to notice your thoughts as they arise and choose which ones deserve your energy. The moment you become aware of a thought, you create space between you and it. That space is where your power lives. That's where you decide whether to feed it or let it pass. This is the difference between a reactive mind and a conscious one. A reactive mind jumps from one thought to another, driven by emotion and impulse. A conscious mind observes without judgment and responds with clarity. Controlling your thoughts does not mean pretending to be positive all the time. It means choosing which thoughts serve your growth, which ones support your purpose, and which ones deserve to be replaced with better ones. It means not entertaining fear just because it's familiar, not accepting self-doubt just because it's loud, and not clinging to old stories just because they've been repeated for years. You cannot train your mind once and expect lasting change, just like your body. Your mind needs daily practice. Every morning is a new opportunity to direct your thoughts intentionally. Before the world distracts you, before the noise floods in, you have to take a moment to ground yourself and choose the quality of your mindset. This is your inner reset button. Your mind needs that pause. It needs stillness before motion, clarity before chaos. If you don't take that time, your mind will absorb whatever it is exposed to first, and that's usually noise, worry, or useless distraction. When you start your day by taking control of your thoughts, you're not reacting to life, you're leading it. You're training your mind to serve your goals instead of your fears. You're conditioning your focus to stay on what matters. This discipline doesn't require hours, it requires intention. You don't need a perfect routine, you need consistency. Even 5 minutes of conscious thought can shift the direction of your entire day. Throughout the day, your mind will be tested. You'll face people, situations, and challenges that try to knock you off center. This is where your training becomes real. Anyone can feel in control in silence, but true growth is tested in discomfort. You might get triggered by someone's words. You might face unexpected problems. You might feel discouraged when progress seems slow. These are not signs that you're failing. They are opportunities to practice. Each challenge is a mirror. It shows you where your mind still reacts. It shows you where growth is still needed. And when you see it that way, nothing is wasted. In these moments, your job is simple but not easy. Pause. Breathe. Watch your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me grow or pulling me down? Is it rooted in truth or in fear? Is it aligned with who I want to become? This awareness creates freedom. The more you practice it, the stronger your mental control becomes. The goal is not to silence every negative thought. That's impossible. The goal is to stop letting them run your life. One thought can ruin your day if you let it. But one conscious choice can change your direction entirely. You don't need to think perfect thoughts. You need to manage them, lead them, and when they become unhelpful, replace them with something stronger. This is where affirmations, reminders, and intentional reflection come in. You can't wait for a good thought to appear out of nowhere. You must create it. You must program your mind just like you would program a tool. Feed it the thoughts you want it to produce. Thoughts of clarity, strength, patience, direction. Over time, your dominant thoughts become your mental default. They become the lens through which you see the world. And that lens determines how you feel, how you act, and what you believe is possible. You must also guard your mind from external influence. Everything you consume shapes your thoughts. The news you read, the people you talk to, the content you scroll through, it all enters your mental space. If you are not careful, you are programming your mind with noise, fear, or distraction without even realizing it. Take responsibility for what you allow in. Your mind is not a trash can. Don't fill it with junk. Be deliberate. Surround yourself with energy that supports your clarity. Cut down time with things that make you anxious, envious, or angry. Choose inputs that remind you of who you are and what you're working toward. Mental control also means being kind to yourself. You won't master this overnight. Some days your thoughts will be messy, emotional, or reactive. That's okay. Progress is not perfection. Progress is catching yourself sooner, recentering faster, replacing the thought quicker. Over time, those small wins compound. You begin to respond with wisdom instead of emotion. You start noticing your triggers without being ruled by them. And you build a quiet confidence that can't be shaken by circumstances. One of the best ways to train this mindset is journaling. Not fancy writing, just honest reflection. Write down what thoughts are dominating your mind. Write what's bothering you. Write what you want to believe instead. This habit helps you see your patterns clearly. It takes your inner noise and puts it on paper. That distance gives you power. You see your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You understand their roots, and you can start to break their hold. Another powerful habit is asking better questions. Your mind is a question-answering machine. If you ask why you always fail, it will give you reasons. If you ask what you learned from a mistake, it will give you growth. Train yourself to ask questions that open your mind instead of shutting it down. Ask, what am I grateful for right now? What can I learn from this? What does this situation teach me about myself? These questions direct your focus to solutions and growth, not fear and defeat. Mental control also means refusing to become a slave to your feelings. Feelings are real, but they're not always right. They fluctuate. They are shaped by sleep, food, stress and memory. You can feel discouraged and still take action. You can feel anxious and still stay calm. You can feel tired and still show up. Your power lies in not making every feeling a reason to quit. When you control your thoughts, you create space between emotion and action. You still feel, but you don't obey every mood. Over time, this builds emotional endurance. You stop avoiding discomfort and start using it. You see hard moments as training, not punishment. You trust that you are becoming stronger, not just surviving. You realize that every day you practice mental control, you are rebuilding your mind. You are changing your life from the inside. You are creating a mindset that doesn't break when life gets difficult. That is freedom. And it all starts with today, not tomorrow, not when things get better, not when you feel more motivated. Now, this very moment. Your next thought is your choice. Your next decision is your chance. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a present decision. Right now you can choose to lead your thoughts. You can choose to observe instead of react. You can choose to practice instead of complain. That is where power begins. Rebuilding yourself mentally is not about pretending life is easy. It's about becoming someone who can face life with strength. It's about mastering the only thing you ever truly control, your mind. When you do that, your life follows. You think better. You act better. You live better. So begin now. Watch your thoughts like a guardian. Choose the ones that push you forward. Question the ones that hold you back. Practice every day like it matters, because it does. And when you fall short, get back up. Every thought you lead makes you stronger. Every day you practice makes you clearer. Every time you control your mind, you take back your life. And that's how you build a new one. Thought by thought. Choice by choice, day by day, forever. Chapter 2. Strengthen your mind by facing small daily challenges. Mental strength is not built in grand, dramatic moments. It is forged in the small, quiet challenges you choose to face each day. Growth doesn't arrive all at once. It comes through effort, repetition, and a quiet willingness to stretch yourself beyond what's comfortable. Many people wait for some major event to change their life, believing that clarity, courage, or transformation will hit them like a wave. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. You become strong by facing what's difficult, day by day, without waiting for inspiration. You don't need a breakthrough. You need to push yourself just a little more than you did yesterday. The mind grows when it's challenged, not overwhelmed, not broken, just challenged. It's the discomfort of doing what you'd rather avoid that sharpens your focus and strengthens your will. It's the decision to keep going when your feelings beg you to stop that builds real confidence. If you always do what's easy, you'll always feel weak. The easy path offers temporary relief, but long-term regret. The hard path offers short-term resistance, but long-term strength. The difference between someone who thrives mentally and someone who constantly doubts themselves isn't natural talent or motivation. It's how they respond to daily resistance. They don't run from challenge. They meet it, and that consistency shapes them. You can't become mentally strong by thinking about being mentally strong. You can't read your way into discipline. You can't imagine your way into self-respect. These qualities come from action, from proving to yourself over and over that you can handle more than your excuses tell you. And the key is not in taking on massive obstacles that feel impossible. It's in the smaller challenges that are easy to avoid, but essential to growth. Wake up a little earlier. Start the task you've been putting off. Speak your truth when silence feels safer. Finish what you start, even when you lose interest. Face the things that make you uncomfortable, one at a time, until discomfort becomes your training ground. This is how you build a mind that doesn't fold under pressure. A mind that knows how to stay centered when things don't go your way. A mind that trusts itself. Every time you resist temptation, you reinforce discipline. Every time you delay gratification, you increase self-control. Every time you do something you didn't feel like doing but did it anyway, you are wiring your brain for resilience. You're teaching yourself to lean into pressure instead of avoiding it. The more you practice, the less power your moods, impulses, and distractions have over you. And here's what's remarkable. You don't need to feel strong to become strong. You don't need to be confident to take the first step. Action itself creates the strength you seek. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start where you are. If you avoid resistance, your mind will remain fragile. If you embrace resistance, your mind will adapt and grow. Facing small daily challenges doesn't mean chasing pain or burnout. It means choosing effort over comfort. It means doing the right thing, even when it's the hard thing. And over time, those choices stack up. They create mental armor. They build the kind of person who doesn't back down when life pushes hard. Because you've already trained yourself to push back, one disciplined act at a time. You don't need to climb a mountain. Start with your morning. That moment when your alarm goes off and your body craves just a few more minutes of sleep, that's a challenge. When you want to scroll mindlessly instead of reading something that fuels you, that's a challenge. When your to-do list feels boring and your energy feels low and you still choose to execute, that's a challenge. These moments matter more than you think. They are the bricks you use to rebuild your mental foundation. Discomfort is not the enemy. Avoiding discomfort is. You must rewire your relationship with challenge. See it as an invitation to level up, not a punishment to suffer through. The greatest transformation happens when you stop negotiating with your limits and start accepting that growth requires effort. You begin to understand that confidence doesn't come from success, it comes from struggle. The effort itself makes you proud. The consistency makes you believe in yourself. This process is deeply personal. No one can challenge your mind for you. No one can force you to show up when it's easier not to. This is your internal work. It is done in private, in silence, without applause or recognition. But the results are visible in how you carry yourself, in how you respond to stress, in how grounded you remain when others lose control. That's what separates the strong from the unstable, the quiet discipline practiced in the background of life. The most powerful thing you can do is become the type of person who doesn't need external motivation to act. You don't need hype. You don't need someone pushing you. You've trained your mind to show up regardless. That's what facing daily challenges teaches you. It teaches you to lead yourself, to commit, even when no one is watching, to keep promises to yourself, even when the mood disappears. That's self-respect in action. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. Mental strength is built in the subtle moments, when you tell yourself, "I don't feel like it," and you do it anyway. When you resist the urge to complain and choose patience. When you hold your posture, slow your breathing, and stay focused even when things go wrong. These are quiet victories, but they matter more than the loud ones. They shape who you are becoming. You also have to recognize that every challenge is feedback. It shows you where you still need work. If something frustrates you easily, it's showing you a weakness to address. If you avoid a certain task, it's exposing a fear to face. These moments aren't failures, they are signals. Use them. Let them guide your training. If a task feels hard, lean into it more. If you want to avoid something, that's exactly what you need to practice. And you're not doing this to prove anything to the world. You're doing it because every time you overcome something difficult, you prove something to yourself. You remind yourself that you are capable, that you are in control, that you don't need to be ruled by emotion, impulse or fear. That's what real confidence is, knowing that no matter how hard it gets, you will not give up on yourself. Over time, your mindset starts to change. You stop fearing hard things. You start seeking them. You look for challenges that can help you sharpen your thinking, improve your control, and strengthen your self-belief. You stop craving comfort and start craving growth. And the more you do this, the more unshakable you become. You're not thrown off by stress. You're not overwhelmed by pressure. You're not controlled by fear, because you've conditioned your mind through effort, not comfort. This is what separates average lives from extraordinary ones, the willingness to do what most won't. To wake up and challenge yourself when it's easier to coast. To stay committed when it's tempting to quit. To choose growth over ease. If you do this long enough, you don't just become stronger, you become unstoppable. And yes, there will be days when it feels too hard. Days when your mind pushes back, when your excuses feel louder than your commitment. Those are the most important days. That's when the real work is done. That's when you remind yourself that progress is not about perfection. It's about repetition, showing up again, pushing again, learning again. These are the bricks. This is the work. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to shape you. It's supposed to break the parts of you that no longer serve you and build the ones that do. The parts of you that hesitate, avoid, procrastinate and hide, they don't belong in the life you're building. Let every challenge you face remove one of them. Let every small act of courage replace fear with strength. This is how you evolve. And when you look back weeks or months from now, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. Because day after day, you'll have stacked proof that you're capable of more than you ever thought. That you're stronger than your doubt. That you can face life, not with fear, but with readiness. So today, choose one thing that challenges you. One thing that requires effort. Do it fully, without hesitation. Then do another tomorrow. And the next day, stack the work. Build the habits. Strengthen the discipline. And over time you will realize that you've become someone who doesn't just wish for a better life, but builds it, through effort, through consistency, through the quiet daily decision to rise, always. Chapter 3. Break negative thinking patterns with conscious self-awareness. The mind has a tendency to repeat what it's used to. Over time, patterns of thought become deeply rooted, not because they're true or helpful, but because they've been repeated so often that they begin to feel natural. Negative thinking patterns are especially deceptive. They disguise themselves as realism, logic, or self-protection. But beneath the surface, they drain your energy, distort your perspective, and quietly sabotage your progress. Most people don't even realize they're trapped in cycles of thought that make them feel powerless. They assume that the way they think is just who they are. But that's the trap. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. And once you develop the ability to step back and become conscious of your thought patterns, you unlock the power to reshape them. Everything starts with awareness. Not judgment, not shame, not panic, just awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to see clearly. You must first become aware of how your mind operates on autopilot. The doubts that replay themselves, the fears that echo from your past, the stories you tell yourself about your worth, your limits, your future. These thoughts often go unchallenged because they've become background noise. They've blended into your identity. But just because a thought is familiar doesn't mean it's right. Just because it feels automatic doesn't mean it's permanent. Most negative thinking patterns are rooted in assumptions. You assume the worst will happen. You assume you're not capable. You assume that your past failures define your future. These assumptions become mental shortcuts, guiding how you interpret everything that happens around you. They influence your decisions, your reactions, your confidence, and the more often you fall into these mental traps, the more they shape your self-image. But here's the truth: no thought pattern is final. Your brain is capable of rewiring itself, but only when you interrupt the automatic loop with conscious attention. It's not enough to think positively. That's just a surface-level fix. You must become aware of the patterns you repeat without realizing it. Begin to observe your inner dialogue like a witness, not a participant. Notice when you default to criticism, comparison, or doubt. Pay attention to the language you use with yourself. Are you speaking from a place of strength or insecurity? Are you giving yourself the space to grow, or constantly reinforcing old limits? The way you speak to yourself reveals what you've been conditioned to believe. And when you slow down and listen closely, you start to see just how much of your suffering comes from recycled thoughts that don't serve you anymore. Awareness is not about analyzing every thought. It's about catching the moment when your thinking shifts into a familiar negative loop. The moment you start spiraling into worry about what might go wrong. The moment you begin to shrink your goals because fear creeps in. The moment you replay past mistakes as if they're warnings for the future. Catch those moments. Pause. Ask yourself, is this true, or is this just a habit? Most of the time, you'll realize it's just a habit, a reflex, not a reality. You've been taught to believe that confidence is something you're either born with or not. That clarity and peace come from outside circumstances aligning. But in reality, confidence comes from learning to break the mental patterns that keep you small. Clarity comes when you strip away the noise of false beliefs. Peace is born when you stop fueling the thoughts that make you feel chaotic. And all of this begins with self-awareness. This is not an overnight fix. You've likely been thinking a certain way for years, but the moment you start becoming conscious of your patterns, you begin to change them, not by force, not by fighting your mind, but by observing without judgment and choosing differently. When the old thought arises, you don't feed it. You don't argue with it. You simply recognize it for what it is, a conditioned response, and then return your focus to the present. This is how you begin to take your mind back. Every time you catch a negative loop and interrupt it, you weaken its grip. Every time you replace a distorted assumption with a grounded, present-minded response, you're rewiring your brain. This is mental training. It's not dramatic, but it's powerful. Over time, the loops become quieter. The emotional triggers become less intense. The need to control or overthink begins to dissolve. What replaces them is space. Space to think clearly, choose wisely, and move forward with intention. Breaking negative thought patterns requires honesty. You must be willing to admit that some of the ways you've been thinking aren't helping you, that some of the beliefs you've held onto were inherited, not chosen, that some of the fears you carry are based on outdated information. It takes humility to recognize that you've been lying to yourself, even if unintentionally. But that recognition is the first step toward freedom. You are not obligated to continue believing what no longer serves your growth, and no one else can do this for you. You must do the inner work of observing yourself without flinching. You must be willing to sit in silence and examine your thought patterns without distraction. This is why most people avoid it, because it's uncomfortable to face your own mind without filters. But comfort is not where growth lives. Growth lives in the spaces where you challenge yourself to see more clearly, even when it's hard. Start with the recurring thoughts that make you feel stuck. The ones that surface when you try something new. The ones that show up when you face uncertainty. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Is it based on fact or fear? Does it reflect my current reality? Or is it echoing an old wound? The more you ask these questions, the more power you take back. You begin to separate yourself from the thoughts, instead of being controlled by them. Your thoughts are not instructions. They're suggestions. You don't have to obey them. You can notice a thought and choose not to act on it. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can think a negative thought and still do something positive. This is what self-awareness allows you to do. It creates space between stimulus and response. That space is where your power lives. And you don't need to wait for a crisis to begin this process. Start small. Notice your internal dialogue in the quiet moments. When you wake up, when you're waiting, when you're alone, begin to catch the patterns. Begin to challenge them. Begin to ask better questions. Over time, your mind becomes a place of clarity instead of confusion, a place of strength instead of struggle. This is the path to freedom, not by fixing everything in your life, but by training your mind to stop creating unnecessary pain. When you no longer believe every thought, you stop reacting to every fear. You stop chasing validation. You stop shrinking yourself to fit someone else's expectations. You stop replaying the past like a punishment, and you begin to live from the present, where your power is real and your choices matter. Self-awareness is a lifelong practice. You won't master it in a week, but every day you show up, every time you observe instead of react, you're making progress. You're becoming more grounded, more intentional, more resilient. You start to lead your mind instead of being led by it. You start to trust yourself, not because everything is perfect, but because you've learned how to navigate difficulty without falling into the same traps. And in the process, your entire life begins to shift. You speak with more honesty because you're not driven by fear. You make clearer decisions because you're not ruled by chaos. You stop wasting time on things that drain you because you finally see what truly matters. This is what it means to live with awareness. Not to control every outcome, but to move through life with eyes open and mind steady. You'll still face challenges. You'll still feel doubt, but you won't be paralyzed by them. Because now you have tools. You have awareness. You have clarity. And most importantly, you have the willingness to face your mind and reshape it every single day. Not with force, but with presence. Not with judgment, but with discipline. So begin today. Tune in. Pay attention. Question what's familiar. Refuse to follow every thought that enters your mind. Stand at the gate of your consciousness like a guardian, calm, firm, and awake. Because the mind can either be your prison or your greatest ally. And that choice begins with awareness. Chapter 4. Build discipline by showing up no matter what. Discipline is not something that appears in your life when you feel ready or inspired. It doesn't wait for motivation. It doesn't ask if you're in the mood. It doesn't care if you slept well, or if it's raining outside, or if life is throwing a storm your way. Discipline lives in your ability to show up regardless. It's the quiet force that moves you forward when everything inside you wants to stay still. Discipline is built, not found. It's forged in the moments when comfort tries to seduce you, when the mind begins bargaining, and when excuses line up, offering you every reason to delay. And it's in those exact moments that your future is being shaped. When you show up on the days that are hard, you're teaching yourself something powerful, that you are not ruled by temporary emotions, that your word to yourself means something, that your habits are stronger than your excuses. Most people wait for the perfect mood before they act. But those who grow, those who succeed, those who build unshakable lives, they act regardless of how they feel. They've trained themselves to rise without asking if they want to. They've realized that progress isn't found in grand gestures, but in small, consistent actions repeated over time, even when it's uncomfortable. There will be mornings when the bed feels heavier than usual, when your energy is low and your mind is cloudy. There will be days when your goals seem distant, when your progress feels invisible, when you wonder if the effort is even worth it. These are not signs that something is wrong. These are the very conditions where discipline is tested and strengthened. Anyone can act when it's easy. The real question is, who are you when it's not? Your ability to show up no matter what is what separates intention from transformation. Discipline isn't glamorous. It doesn't always feel good. It often looks boring to those who are addicted to chaos and drama. But it's in the mundane that excellence is built. It's in the repetition of daily effort, in the refusal to negotiate with procrastination, that results begin to stack up. You don't need massive breakthroughs every day. You need steady commitment. You need presence. You need to keep walking when others stop. And yes, discipline requires sacrifice. You will have to let go of certain comforts. You will have to say no when others say yes. You will have to do things that challenge your patterns, that stretch your limits, that make you uncomfortable. But with every repetition, you grow stronger. With every day you show up, you become the kind of person who doesn't need to be rescued from their own inaction. You become reliable to yourself. People often talk about confidence as something that comes from results. But real confidence comes from knowing that you will show up, no matter the circumstances, that your energy won't dictate your actions, that your mood doesn't have the final say, that your mind may try to run, but your deeper commitment won't let it. This kind of self-trust doesn't happen overnight. It's built by proving, again and again, that you can follow through. There will be temptations to delay. You'll hear the voice that says just one day off. you've earned a break, or you'll get back on track tomorrow. That voice sounds rational. It sounds kind, but if you follow it without awareness, it becomes a pattern. And that pattern slowly dissolves your momentum. One missed day becomes two. A small break becomes a slippery slope. You don't lose discipline all at once. You lose it in small moments where you chose ease over effort. But here's the good news: you can rebuild that momentum at any time by simply deciding to show up again. That's the beauty of discipline. It doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It asks that you return again and again to what matters, even after you've fallen short. The disciplined mind doesn't expect flawless execution. It expects honesty. It expects effort. It expects consistency. You'll find that your mind will often resist structure. It wants freedom, spontaneity, pleasure. But real freedom is born from discipline. When you've trained yourself to follow through, you don't fear failure as much. You don't feel lost in uncertainty. You know how to keep moving through discomfort. And that is real power, the ability to act, regardless of how life feels. Start by choosing one thing you'll do every day. Something simple, something clear. A small promise to yourself, and then follow through. Rain or shine, busy or bored, tired or energized, follow through. Don't overthink it. Don't argue with your mind. Just do it. Over time, that small action becomes your anchor. It becomes a reminder that you are the kind of person who honors their word, and from that foundation you can build more. Discipline doesn't eliminate emotion. It teaches you how to move through it. You'll still feel tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed at times, but those feelings won't control your life. They'll pass like weather, and while they pass, you'll keep working, keep growing, keep showing up. That's how resilience is built. That's how character is developed. No one else can build this for you. People can support you, encourage you, even inspire you. But at the end of the day, discipline is your responsibility. It's a relationship between you and your potential. Every day you're either feeding it or neglecting it. There is no standing still. You're either reinforcing discipline or reinforcing delay. And the more honest you are about this, the more power you gain over your habits. And remember, you won't always see immediate results. Discipline is not about instant gratification. It's about planting seeds today that will bear fruit in the future. And those seeds often grow underground, unseen for a long time. That's why so many people quit. They confuse the absence of visible results with failure. But those who understand discipline know better. They know that something is happening, even when it's not obvious. They trust the process. They trust themselves. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you slip. But those moments don't define you. What defines you is your decision to come back, to get back up, to not let a single mistake become a spiral. You don't need to punish yourself to be disciplined. You need to recommit, with clarity, with purpose, with honesty. Show up again and again, until showing up becomes who you are. Over time, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles to stay consistent. You start seeing yourself as someone who gets things done, someone who takes their life seriously, someone who doesn't wait for permission to grow. That shift doesn't come from thinking differently. It comes from acting differently, again and again, until your actions carve out a new identity. Discipline isn't about living a rigid life. It's about creating structure that supports your growth. It's about setting boundaries that protect your time, your energy, your vision. It's about saying yes to the hard things that matter, and no to the easy things that steal your focus. It's not punishment, it's commitment. It's not restriction, it's freedom through mastery. When you build discipline, you start trusting your own decisions. You don't feel lost in self-doubt. You don't seek validation for every step. You move forward because it's what you said you'd do, because you know that the version of you you're becoming is built one choice at a time. You understand that each decision is a vote for the life you're creating, and with each vote you become more aligned with your vision. There will always be reasons to skip, to delay, to excuse. But discipline is about choosing your reason for showing up. It's about choosing your future self over your current comfort. And once you start seeing results, real tangible changes, you realize that the hard days, the early mornings, the quiet hours of effort were not sacrifices. They were investments. And they begin to compound in ways you never expected. Show up when it's hard. Show up when it's boring. Show up when no one's watching. Show up when you're scared. Show up when the voice in your head says you can't. That's how you build a foundation that no setback can shake. That's how you move from intention to transformation. That's how you become the kind of person who doesn't need to talk about what they're doing, because their consistency speaks for itself. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you're capable of becoming. And every day you have a chance to cross that bridge, not by waiting for the right moment, not by hoping for more motivation, but by taking action, by honoring your commitments, by proving in the small moments that you are someone who follows through. And that's what changes everything. Not the loud declarations, not the perfect plans, but the quiet, relentless decision to keep going, to keep showing up, to keep building, until one day you look back and realize you didn't just stay disciplined, you became discipline itself. Chapter 5. Master your emotions through calm and steady practice. Emotions are not your enemies. They are signals, messengers, and reflections of the stories you tell yourself. To master them is not to eliminate them, but to understand them, to work with them, and to direct them with conscious effort. Most people are reactive. They let their emotions dictate their responses, control their mood, and shape their decisions. But when you commit to calm and steady emotional practice, you take your power back. You stop being a slave to your reactions and start becoming the architect of your internal world. This doesn't happen all at once. It requires patience. It demands practice. But over time, it gives you something rare, inner freedom. Mastering your emotions begins with awareness. You must be willing to observe yourself without judgment. When anger rises, pause. When sadness shows up, acknowledge it. When frustration builds, breathe. Most people rush past these moments. They react without reflection. They let the emotion take the wheel. But when you learn to create space between the feeling and the reaction, everything begins to shift. That space is where your growth lives. That space is where your strength is built. This calm response doesn't come naturally at first. You may feel the urge to yell, withdraw, or act impulsively. But in that moment of temptation, you have a choice. You can let your past patterns take over, or you can interrupt them. You can remember that you're not here to be ruled by emotion. You're here to rise above it. Not by suppressing it, but by understanding it and responding with intention. Steady emotional control isn't about pretending to be unaffected. It's about facing what you feel with maturity. It's about being honest with yourself while also remaining grounded. You can feel deeply and still stay composed. You can experience emotion without being consumed by it. That's the level of power you're working toward, not the elimination of emotion, but the mastery of it. When you practice emotional discipline daily, you begin to notice subtle changes. You stop reacting so quickly. You begin thinking more clearly under pressure. You stop taking things so personally. This isn't because life gets easier, but because you've trained your mind to remain calm in the face of difficulty. And that calmness becomes your weapon. It protects your energy. It shields your focus. It keeps you centered when everything else feels chaotic. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn to breathe before you speak, to wait before you respond, to step back before you act. That pause, just a few seconds, can save you from regret, from escalation, from emotional damage. It takes discipline to pause. It takes strength to not react. But each time you do it, you train your nervous system to settle. You train your mind to lead. And over time, that becomes your default. Emotions are tied to patterns, ways of thinking and responding that have been repeated over and over. If you want to master your emotions, you have to interrupt those patterns. You have to be more conscious in your day-to-day life. Pay attention to how you feel in different situations. Notice what triggers you. Observe what throws you off balance. These observations give you insight into yourself. And with insight, you gain leverage. You can begin to choose a new way of responding. Don't aim to control everything around you. You'll lose yourself in the process. Instead, learn to control how you meet the world. Master your response. Choose how you will show up, especially when things don't go your way. That's the true test of emotional mastery. Not how calm you are when everything is going right, but how steady you remain when life doesn't cooperate. Emotional control isn't about detachment. It's about alignment. It's about being connected to your values, your purpose, your vision, even when your emotions try to pull you off course. It's easy to act on emotion in the short term, but it often leads to long-term consequences. When you practice calmness, you think with clarity. You see the bigger picture. You don't let temporary feelings destroy permanent progress. Many people are addicted to emotional highs and lows. They confuse chaos with passion. They chase intensity instead of peace. But peace is where power lives. In peace you can hear your intuition. In peace you can access reason. In peace you can make decisions that support your growth. But peace doesn't come by accident. It comes by practice. Every day you're given opportunities to practice emotional mastery. The delayed train, the rude comment, the unexpected setback. Each moment is a chance to respond differently, to rise above, to maintain your center. These small moments matter. They may seem insignificant, but together they shape who you are becoming. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent, to keep choosing calmness, to keep choosing control. Mastering your emotions also means learning to sit with discomfort. You don't need to fix every feeling. You don't need to run from sadness, fear, or uncertainty. Let yourself feel what you need to feel, but do so consciously. Don't let it consume you. Don't make decisions from that place. Let the feeling pass like a wave. Watch it rise. Watch it fall. And then return to your center. This is emotional maturity. Not denying emotion, but not becoming it either. When you understand your emotions, you begin to see them as teachers. Anger might be a signal that your boundaries were crossed. Anxiety might be a sign that you need clarity or preparation. Sadness might be inviting you to slow down and heal. These signals aren't problems. They're invitations, but only if you approach them with curiosity instead of judgment. Calmness is not weakness. It is strength under control. It's the product of patience, awareness, and discipline. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It stands firm, and it's this calmness that will give you the edge in every area of life. In relationships, it allows for understanding. In work, it enhances performance. In challenges, it keeps you grounded. The world may try to provoke you, but when you've trained your inner world, you respond instead of react. Over time, your nervous system begins to change. You're no longer triggered as easily. Your stress levels decrease. Your body becomes more relaxed. Your thoughts become more focused. This is not just psychological. It's physiological. Mastering your emotions changes your entire being. It brings your mind and body into alignment. It gives you presence. It gives you power. And yes, there will be moments when you slip. When the emotion gets the better of you. When you react too quickly. That's part of the process. What matters is how you respond afterward. Do you reflect? Do you take ownership? Do you recommit to your practice? That's where the growth happens. You don't become emotionally masterful by avoiding mistakes. You become masterful by learning from them. Don't underestimate the power of simple practices. Meditation, journaling, deep breathing, intentional silence. These are not just habits. They are tools to train your emotional muscles. Use them daily. Not when things fall apart, but before they do. Prepare your mind the way an athlete prepares their body. Train in peace, so you can perform under pressure. You don't need to be ruled by emotional chaos. You can create a steady internal foundation that carries you through life's ups and downs. But you must be committed. You must be willing to choose calmness over comfort, presence over distraction, clarity over reaction. This is a daily decision, a quiet commitment to mastery. You are capable of being calm in the storm. You are capable of responding with wisdom when provoked. You are capable of holding your ground without losing your grace. But it starts with practice, and it continues with repetition. Over time, that practice becomes your new baseline. It becomes the standard you hold for yourself. Let others be consumed by drama. Let others chase emotional highs. You are here for something deeper. You are here to build something stable, something real, something that lasts. And that foundation begins within you, within your own emotional steadiness, within your own ability to remain calm no matter what. Keep practicing, keep choosing, keep showing up for your emotions, not to be ruled by them but to lead them. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. Chapter 6. Let go of past pain through mindful reflection. Letting go of past pain isn't about pretending it never happened. It's about refusing to carry it forward into the moments that are still yours to live. Pain from the past doesn't disappear just because time moves forward. Time alone doesn't heal anything. What heals is the quiet courage to face it, to understand it, and to release it through mindful reflection. Until you do that, you'll continue reliving moments that are no longer happening. You'll stay stuck in memories that no longer belong to the present, and they will quietly shape how you think, how you love, how you trust, and how you live. The human mind is wired to hold on to emotional weight. It clings to moments of betrayal, loss, disappointment, and humiliation because it thinks it's protecting you. But the mind doesn't always distinguish between what's useful and what's destructive. So you have to step in consciously. You have to become the observer. You have to ask yourself what you're still holding on to and why, and not with blame, but with clarity. The work isn't about blaming yourself for hurting. It's about deciding that your pain will not be your identity. Many people repeat the pain of the past because they've never truly looked at it. They avoid it, distract themselves, or suppress it with busyness. But the wound you avoid is the one that keeps bleeding. Healing only begins when you stop running from your pain and start sitting with it. Not to suffer more, but to understand yourself better. When you reflect mindfully, you create space between what happened and how it lives in your mind. That space is where healing becomes possible. Mindful reflection isn't about judgment. It's about seeing the truth with clean eyes. It's about remembering what happened without letting it distort who you are. Pain has a way of convincing you that you're broken, that you'll never trust again, that you're not enough. But those are just narratives created in moments of vulnerability, and those narratives can be rewritten. But first, you have to see them clearly. You have to ask yourself what stories you've been telling yourself because of the pain you've carried. When you reflect on the past, you're not doing it to relive the hurt, you're doing it to take away its power. You're doing it to understand the root of your wounds, not just the symptoms. The argument that changed your self-worth, the betrayal that damaged your trust, the failure that made you feel incapable. You don't run from those moments. You return to them gently, with the strength of someone who wants to free themselves. You look at them not with self-pity, but with self-respect. Sometimes pain stays with us because we've never forgiven ourselves. Not just for what we did, but for what we allowed, for staying too long, for not speaking up, for tolerating what we knew was wrong. But part of letting go is acknowledging that you did the best you could with the awareness you had. You weren't weak, you were learning. You weren't broken, you were surviving. And now, with more clarity and wisdom, you have the power to choose differently. Letting go is not forgetting. It's remembering without carrying the weight. It's knowing what happened and deciding it will no longer shape your worth. It's closing a chapter, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Pain doesn't leave overnight. It leaves gradually, every time you choose peace over bitterness, growth over resentment, presence over memory. And you must choose again and again until your nervous system begins to trust that it's safe to move forward. Your past pain doesn't define your future unless you let it. But if you keep rehearsing it in your mind, if you keep replaying the worst moments, you trap yourself in a loop that keeps you emotionally stuck. Mindful reflection is the key to breaking that loop. It's the practice of observing your memories without drowning in them. It's the discipline of seeing the lesson instead of only the loss. And that requires emotional strength. That requires the willingness to stop blaming and start owning your healing. You are not your past pain. You are the person who lived through it, who felt it, who endured it, and who now has the ability to transform it. That transformation starts when you create stillness. When you pause and ask yourself, what am I still carrying that I no longer need? Who do I still blame for something that's already done? Where am I still living in fear because of something that hurt me once? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary if you want peace. Your healing doesn't come from answers, it comes from awareness. It comes from the ability to sit with the uncomfortable and let it soften, let it loosen its grip. Don't expect it to be quick. Real healing takes time. It's a process of releasing the layers you built to protect yourself. The anger, the denial, the numbness. Each layer was there for a reason, but now they may be preventing you from feeling joy, from trusting again, from being fully alive. You have to shed those layers with compassion. You won't find peace by pretending you don't care. You won't move on by faking strength. True peace comes when you meet your pain honestly. When you give yourself the space to cry, to grieve, to let go without guilt. Emotions buried alive never die. They show up in your reactions, your fears, your relationships. But when you allow yourself to feel them, to express them, and to reflect on them with awareness, they begin to dissolve. Letting go doesn't mean everything is resolved. It means you're no longer trying to force resolution. You're no longer waiting for closure from someone who won't give it. You're no longer holding out hope that the past could be different. You're accepting reality, not in defeat, but in strength. You're giving yourself permission to heal even if others don't acknowledge your pain. That's freedom. That's ownership. That's what it means to reclaim your story. The longer you carry unprocessed pain, the more it shapes your identity. It becomes the filter through which you see the world. You start expecting hurt. You assume betrayal. You avoid connection. But all of this comes from a place of fear, and the only way to dissolve that fear is to bring it into the light, to look at it, to reflect on where it came from, to ask yourself if it's still true. More often than not, it's not. But unless you examine it, it stays. Your mind is powerful. It can heal or it can hurt. The difference lies in how you use it. If you use it to revisit the worst parts of your life, you stay there emotionally. If you use it to understand, to reframe, to choose new meaning, you grow. Mindful reflection helps you use your mind as a tool for transformation. Not a cage, but a compass. Not a judge, but a guide. Letting go is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Every time the memory arises, you remind yourself that you're not there anymore. You remind yourself that the lesson has been learned. You remind yourself that you deserve peace more than you deserve closure. Some people will never say sorry. Some stories will never feel fair. But healing is not about them. It's about you. And it's about what you're willing to release for the sake of your own well-being. You can't change what happened, but you can change how it lives in you. You can stop telling yourself that you're broken. You can stop defining yourself by the worst things you've experienced. You can stop making decisions based on fear of getting hurt again. You can choose to live differently, to think differently, to feel differently. And that choice begins the moment you say, I am ready to let go. This process is not linear. Some days you'll feel peace. Other days the pain will rise again. That's normal. Healing comes in waves, but every wave you ride without drowning, every emotion you face without collapsing, makes you stronger. Not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, even physically. Your body starts to relax. Your sleep improves. Your energy returns. This is the quiet gift of healing, clarity, presence and strength you didn't know you had. Let go of past pain, not because it didn't matter, but because your future matters more. Not because you weren't hurt, but because you deserve to live free from that hurt. You've already survived the pain. Now it's time to stop reliving it. Let your reflection become your release. Let your awareness become your antidote. You are not here to suffer endlessly. You are here to rise. You are here to reclaim your life. One breath, one thought, one choice at a time. Chapter 7. Reset your mindset by choosing better daily habits. Your mind is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it needs to be maintained and sharpened. The way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act shapes the results you get in life. That's why resetting your mindset isn't just about a quick change of perspective. It's about a consistent shift in how you approach each day. It's about realizing that you're in control of how you think and the habits you build, and it's those habits that will ultimately define your success. The mind doesn't change overnight. It's a slow, intentional process. But you have the power to reset it by making the right choices each day, over and over again. It's the simple daily habits that compound over time to create the transformation you desire. These are the habits that quietly shift your internal landscape and, by extension, change the course of your life. But first, you have to recognize that nothing in your life will change until your mindset does. Without the reset, everything else remains stuck in place. We live in a world filled with distractions, stress, and negative influences. It's easy to slip into autopilot mode, doing things out of habit rather than intention. But when you step back and take control, you'll see how much power you have to change the direction of your life. Resetting your mindset begins with understanding that the small decisions you make every day are the building blocks of your future. They are not insignificant, they are foundational. It all begins with the decision to take ownership of your thoughts. When you understand that you are not a prisoner to your thoughts, you'll begin to see opportunities everywhere. The first step is to look at where you are now and recognize that your current circumstances are the result of the choices you've made up until this point. That might seem harsh at first, but it's actually incredibly empowering. It means that you are in control of your future. Your thoughts are not fixed, they are fluid, and you have the ability to reshape them. Resetting your mindset doesn't require you to completely discard your old self. It requires you to let go of the things that no longer serve you and to replace them with habits that support the person you're becoming. This doesn't happen by accident, it happens by design. You create new habits by making conscious decisions every single day. You decide what you will think, what you will focus on, and what you will do. And with each decision, you reset your mindset just a little more. One of the most effective ways to reset your mindset is by changing how you start your day. The first few minutes after waking are crucial. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately fall into the trap of checking your phone, scrolling through social media, or letting your mind wander into negative thinking, you're already off track. Instead, choose to start your day with intention. Begin with gratitude, with focus, with something that will feed your mind and soul. A reset doesn't just mean thinking positively. It's about adopting habits that reinforce the mindset you want to cultivate. The most successful people don't just think about success, they live it through their daily actions. This is the power of habits. They reinforce who you are becoming. And when you start creating better habits, you begin to see a change not just in your actions but in your entire mindset. You begin to expect more from yourself, and in turn you'll start achieving more. But resetting your mindset is not just about what you do first thing in the morning, it's about everything you do throughout the day. Every decision, every action, every thought, each one contributes to the bigger picture of who you're becoming. That's why consistency is so important. It's not about making one big leap, but about making small incremental changes that over time lead to massive transformation. When you consistently make the right choices, when you choose to think positively, act with intention, and focus on growth, you create momentum. And momentum is what changes everything. The habits you form don't have to be grandiose. In fact, the most powerful habits are often the simplest. Waking up early, exercising, eating healthy, reading or listening to something positive, and taking time for self-reflection. These may seem like small actions, but over time they add up. When you start each day with purpose, when you consistently make choices that align with your goals, you reset your mindset and set yourself up for success. But resetting your mindset doesn't come without challenges. You will face setbacks. You will encounter days where your old habits want to pull you back. It's easy to slip into the comfortable routines of the past, but this is where your strength lies, in your ability to stay committed even when it's hard. When you're tempted to give up, or when you feel discouraged, remember that resetting your mindset is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about making the choice to reset over and over again until it becomes a part of who you are. Resetting your mindset also means eliminating the things that drag you down, whether that's toxic people, negative environments, or destructive habits. It's about creating space for the things that uplift you, that challenge you, that help you grow. You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with, the things you expose yourself to, and the habits you practice. So make sure that every influence in your life is aligned with the person you're working to become. One of the most important habits to develop when resetting your mindset is to be mindful of your self-talk. The way you speak to yourself determines how you feel about yourself, and that directly impacts your actions. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, not capable enough, or not worthy of success, that's the mindset you will operate from. On the other hand, if you start speaking to yourself with kindness, with encouragement, with confidence, your mindset will begin to shift. The words you choose matter because they influence your beliefs and your actions. Resetting your mindset is also about learning to embrace discomfort. Change isn't easy. Growth requires stepping out of your comfort zone and taking risks. It requires doing things that challenge you, that make you uncomfortable, and that force you to grow. But this is where the magic happens. It's in these moments of discomfort that your true potential is revealed. So don't shy away from challenges. Don't avoid the things that scare you. Embrace them, knowing that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. You will also need to develop a deeper level of self-awareness as you reset your mindset. Being aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions allows you to make conscious choices about who you want to be. This awareness is what gives you the power to change. Without it, you will continue operating on autopilot, letting old habits dictate your life. But when you become aware of the patterns that hold you back, you can choose differently. And it's in those moments of choice that transformation happens. Another key to resetting your mindset is to develop a growth-oriented attitude. Instead of viewing failures as setbacks, see them as opportunities to learn and grow. Every mistake, every misstep, every failure is a chance to get better. When you embrace a growth mindset, you stop being afraid of failure. You stop seeing it as something that defines you. Instead, you see it as part of the process of becoming the best version of yourself. This shift in perspective will radically change how you approach challenges and how you respond to setbacks. As you reset your mindset, you will start to notice changes in how you feel and how you interact with the world. You'll feel more confident, more focused, more driven. You'll start to take ownership of your life in a way you never have before. And as your mindset shifts, your results will follow. The power to change your life lies within you. It lies in the choices you make every day. Choose better habits. Choose better thoughts. And watch as your entire reality begins to shift. Reset your mindset, and you'll reset your life. Chapter 8. Focus on what you can control right now. In life, we often face overwhelming situations that seem beyond our control, whether it's personal challenges, societal pressures, or unforeseen events. We are constantly confronted with things that can trigger anxiety, frustration, and helplessness. But here's the truth. Focusing on everything that is outside of your control is the quickest way to lose sight of what you can actually change. It takes immense energy to fight against the tides of life, But when you learn to focus on what you can control right now, you unlock a power that allows you to move forward, no matter the circumstances. Too often, we allow our thoughts to spiral into things that have already happened, or things that may never even come to pass. The constant need to worry about the future or regret the past keeps us stuck in a mental loop that serves no purpose other than to drain our energy. But what if you could break free from this cycle? What if you could reclaim your energy by focusing on the present moment, on the things you can actively control? The reality is that you cannot control everything. There will always be factors in your life that are out of your hands. However, you have the power to choose how you respond to those situations. You can choose where you focus your energy, and this is where your control lies. By narrowing your attention to what you can influence, you immediately take back control of your life and start making meaningful progress. The first step in focusing on what you can control is to cultivate self-awareness. It's easy to get caught up in emotions, especially when faced with a challenging situation. But your thoughts and feelings are often the most immediate things you can control. When you find yourself feeling stressed or overwhelmed, pause and assess what's happening internally. Are you ruminating on something that happened in the past? Are you worrying about the future? Or are you reacting to something that's completely out of your hands? Once you bring awareness to your thoughts and emotions, you can decide whether or not they are worth your time and energy. Recognizing this is the first step in regaining your power. When you focus on the present, you create an opportunity to choose what happens next. The past is gone, and the future has not yet arrived. All you have is the present moment, and within it you have the ability to act. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed, stop and remind yourself, what can I control right now? It might be something as simple as how you breathe, what you say to yourself, or the next step you take. Often, the act of choosing is more powerful than the action itself, because it reminds you that you have agency. One of the most valuable tools in focusing on what you can control is your routine. When life feels chaotic, a solid routine brings a sense of order and calm. Establishing a daily rhythm based on actions that align with your goals gives you the clarity and structure to make progress, even when external circumstances are uncertain. A consistent morning routine, for example, can help you start your day with intention and focus, setting the tone for what comes next. Whether it's exercising, reading, journaling, or practicing mindfulness, small daily habits help you stay grounded in the present moment and take control of your day. Another key to focusing on what you can control is learning to let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism often keeps us from taking action because we fear the outcome won't be good enough. But the truth is, nothing is ever truly perfect, and the pursuit of perfection can paralyze you. Instead of focusing on the ideal result, focus on progress. Every action you take, no matter how small, is an investment in your future. And by taking imperfect action, you build momentum that carries you toward your goals. Take a moment to reflect on your daily decisions. Are you putting energy into things that are outside of your control, or are you channeling your focus into what you can impact right now? Sometimes, the simplest things can make the biggest difference. If you're faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what's the next step I can take to move forward? You may not have all the answers, and that's okay. But by focusing on the next immediate step, you create a pathway to progress. Even in the most difficult of situations, there is always something you can do right now to improve your circumstances. Whether it's taking a break to recharge, reaching out for help, or adjusting your approach, small actions will lead to big changes. Sometimes, we fail to see that the power to change a situation often lies in how we react to it. We can't control how others behave or what life throws our way, but we can control how we respond. Responding with grace, patience and focus not only helps you navigate challenges more effectively, but also helps you maintain a sense of control in a world that often feels unpredictable. The ability to manage your reactions is one of the most powerful tools you have for shifting your mindset and staying focused on what you can control. Focusing on the present moment also means being mindful of the stories you tell yourself. It's easy to get caught in negative thought patterns that reinforce feelings of helplessness or inadequacy. But the truth is, these stories are often self-imposed. They are based on beliefs that are not rooted in reality, but in fear or past experiences. By taking a step back and challenging these thoughts, you can rewrite the narrative and choose a different perspective. You don't have to be defined by your past mistakes, fears, or doubts. The only story that matters is the one you create right now, in the present moment. The more you practice this, the more you'll begin to see the power you have to change your own narrative. Another essential aspect of focusing on what you can control is cultivating emotional resilience. Life will always present challenges, but your ability to bounce back from adversity is what will ultimately determine your success. Resilience doesn't mean avoiding difficult emotions, it means feeling those emotions without allowing them to control you. It means acknowledging pain, frustration or fear, and then choosing to move forward anyway. When you embrace your emotions rather than fight them, you create the mental and emotional space to choose how you respond. Sometimes, the hardest part of focusing on what you can control is accepting that there are things you simply cannot change. It's a tough pill to swallow, but understanding the limits of your influence allows you to redirect your energy into areas where you do have control. You can't change the past, and you can't predict the future, but you can choose how you live in the present. This acceptance frees up mental and emotional energy that can be channeled into productive actions. By focusing on what you can control, you stop wasting time on things that will never change, and instead direct your energy toward what will move you forward. It's important to remember that focusing on what you can control is not about disregarding the bigger picture. It's about taking ownership of your immediate reality and making the most of what you can influence. The more you focus on your present choices and actions, the more you create a life that reflects the values and goals you care about most. And in doing so, you build a life that's resilient, grounded and purposeful, no matter what life throws your way. When you embrace this mindset, you realize that the power is always in your hands. No matter the external circumstances, you have the ability to decide where you focus your energy. And that focus will determine the direction of your life. By consistently choosing what you can control, you take back your power and create the life you want to live. It all starts with the present moment, and the present moment is yours to shape. Chapter 9. Train your brain to handle stress with purpose. Stress is something that every person will encounter at some point in life, whether it's due to work, relationships, or personal challenges. It can feel like an overwhelming force that pushes us to our limits, making us anxious, frustrated, or even fearful. But stress doesn't have to be a permanent condition. In fact, it can be a powerful catalyst for growth if you train your brain to handle it with purpose. When you learn to manage stress effectively, you not only protect your mental and physical well-being, but also set the stage for becoming stronger, more resilient, and more capable of navigating life's challenges. At its core, Stress is a natural response to pressure, danger, or demand. Your body releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, preparing you for action. This is known as the fight or flight response, and it's something that kept our ancestors alive when faced with immediate danger. However, in today's world, stress is often triggered by more mundane issues, deadlines, relationship problems, financial struggles, and without the right mental tools, it can escalate and become detrimental to our well-being. The first step in training your brain to handle stress is recognizing that not all stress is bad. In fact, certain types of stress can be motivating, driving you to perform at your best. When approached correctly, stress can help you focus, enhance creativity, and provide the energy needed to overcome obstacles. But this only happens when you manage it consciously. If left unchecked, stress can spiral out of control, affecting your health, productivity, and relationships. That's why training your brain to respond to stress with purpose is essential. A key element in handling stress with purpose is shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing stress as something negative, try to view it as a signal that something important is happening in your life. Stress often arises when we face situations that challenge us, push us out of our comfort zones, or force us to make decisions. Instead of avoiding or fearing these moments, embrace them. They are opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. By reframing your mindset, you begin to see stress as a tool for progress rather than a threat to your well-being. Once you begin to see stress as an opportunity for growth, you can start to train your brain to handle it more effectively. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of staying present in the moment without judgment. When you're stressed, your mind tends to race, jumping from one worry to the next. But when you practice mindfulness, you learn to observe your thoughts and feelings without being controlled by them. This simple but powerful technique can help you detach from the emotional intensity of stress and respond to it with clarity and calmness. Mindfulness allows you to step back and assess the situation objectively. When you're mindful, you're able to observe your stress without getting caught up in the panic or anxiety that often accompanies it. You become the observer of your thoughts rather than the victim of them. This shift in perspective helps you gain control over your response to stress, enabling you to approach the situation with a clear mind and purposeful action. Another important aspect of training your brain to handle stress is developing emotional regulation skills. When stress triggers strong emotions like anger, fear, or frustration, it's easy to react impulsively. But when you're able to regulate your emotions, you avoid making rash decisions that could lead to regret. Emotional regulation is the ability to acknowledge your feelings without allowing them to dictate your actions. It's the difference between reacting emotionally and responding with thoughtfulness and intention. One way to practice emotional regulation is by taking a pause before reacting to stressful situations. When you feel your emotions rising, take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to process what's happening. This pause allows you to create space between the stimulus, the stressful situation, and your response, giving you the opportunity to choose how you want to react. Over time, this practice becomes ingrained in your brain, and you become more adept at managing stress without being controlled by your emotions. In addition to mindfulness and emotional regulation, physical techniques can also be incredibly effective in managing stress. Your body and mind are deeply interconnected, so taking care of your physical health can have a profound impact on your ability to handle stress. Regular physical exercise, for example, helps to reduce the levels of cortisol in your body, which is the hormone responsible for stress. Exercise also triggers the release of endorphins, the feel-good hormones that help improve your mood and combat stress. Exercise is not only good for your body, but also for your brain. Physical activity improves cognitive function, boosts memory, and enhances your ability to focus. When you make exercise a regular part of your routine, you train your brain to better handle the physical and mental demands of stress. Whether it's going for a run, doing yoga, or lifting weights, find an activity that you enjoy and commit to it. The more you move your body, the more equipped your brain becomes to handle the stress that comes your way. In addition to exercise, getting enough sleep is another crucial factor in stress management. Sleep is when your body and brain recover, recharge, and reset. Without adequate rest, your brain becomes less effective at managing stress, and your ability to regulate emotions diminishes. Prioritize your sleep by creating a healthy sleep routine, limiting screen time before bed, and ensuring that your sleep environment is conducive to rest. A well-rested brain is more resilient, focused, and capable of handling stress with purpose. Another powerful tool in managing stress is time management. Often stress arises when we feel overwhelmed by the demands of life. A lack of structure or an inability to prioritize can make tasks seem insurmountable. By learning to manage your time effectively, you can alleviate much of this stress. Break down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, and set realistic deadlines for yourself. This will not only help you avoid procrastination, but also provide you with a sense of control over your workload. Time management is also about saying no to things that don't align with your goals or values. Overcommitting yourself is a surefire way to create unnecessary stress. Be mindful of your limits and learn to set healthy boundaries. When you focus on the tasks that matter most and eliminate distractions, you reduce the mental clutter that can contribute to stress. Time management is about making intentional choices that allow you to focus on what truly matters. Finally, remember that stress is not something to be avoided or eliminated entirely. It's a natural part of life, and in many ways it's essential for growth and achievement. Instead of fearing stress, learn to embrace it as a signal that you're on the right path. Train your brain to respond to stress with purpose, and you'll find that it no longer holds the power over you that it once did. With mindfulness, emotional regulation, physical activity, time management, and a positive mindset, you can train your brain to handle stress in a way that strengthens you rather than breaking you down. Over time, you'll become more resilient, more focused, and better equipped to navigate the inevitable challenges that come your way. Chapter 10. Speak to yourself with honesty and full respect. The words we speak to ourselves shape our reality in ways that are often overlooked. Our inner dialogue is the voice that accompanies us through every challenge, every success, and every step we take. It's the voice that either encourages us to keep going or holds us back with self-doubt and criticism. Many people go through life without ever stopping to question what they're telling themselves on a daily basis. The language we use with ourselves has immense power. It can either fuel us to take bold actions or keep us trapped in cycles of insecurity and fear. Speaking to yourself with honesty and full respect is not just about being kind to yourself. It's about embracing the truth of who you are and recognizing your inherent worth. Too often, we engage in negative self-talk, telling ourselves that we're not good enough, capable enough, or worthy enough. This constant barrage of negativity can erode our self-confidence and prevent us from reaching our full potential. But when you learn to speak to yourself with honesty and respect, you transform the way you perceive yourself and the world around you. You start to see yourself as someone who is worthy of success, love, and happiness. Honesty is the first pillar of speaking to yourself with respect. Being honest with yourself means acknowledging your strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between. It's about facing the truth, even when it's uncomfortable or difficult to confront. Many people avoid self-honesty because they're afraid of what they might discover. They may fear that confronting their flaws will make them feel inadequate or exposed. However, true growth comes from embracing who you really are, both the good and the bad. When you speak to yourself with honesty, you're giving yourself permission to grow, evolve, and improve. Honesty also means taking responsibility for your actions and decisions. Instead of blaming others or external circumstances for your situation, you acknowledge that you are the one in control of your life. By being honest with yourself about your role in your own success or failure, you empower yourself to make better choices moving forward. Self-honesty isn't about beating yourself up for past mistakes. It's about learning from them and using those lessons to create a better future. It's about being truthful with yourself in every aspect of your life, from your goals and values to your relationships and habits. Respect is the second pillar of speaking to yourself with honesty. Respecting yourself means treating yourself with the same kindness, compassion, and understanding that you would offer to a loved one. So often, we are quick to extend grace to others but forget to do the same for ourselves. We can be our own harshest critics, berating ourselves for every mistake or shortcoming. But respect means recognizing that you deserve to be treated with dignity, regardless of your imperfections. It's about being patient with yourself when you fall short and acknowledging the progress you've made along the way. When you speak to yourself with respect, you recognize your own value. You stop tolerating the negative, self-destructive thoughts that hold you back and start replacing them with empowering beliefs. Instead of saying things like, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never succeed," you begin to tell yourself, "I am capable, I am worthy of success, and I am doing my best, and that is enough." This shift in language has a profound impact on your mindset, self-esteem, and ability to take action. One of the most common barriers to speaking to yourself with honesty and respect is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. These fears often prevent us from being truthful with ourselves. When we are afraid of facing our flaws or confronting uncomfortable truths, we may resort to self-deception or avoidance. We may convince ourselves that we're not ready, that we're not capable, or that we don't deserve what we want in life. But when we let fear control our inner dialogue, we remain stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage. To break free from this cycle, you must learn to face your fears head-on. This doesn't mean that you should ignore your insecurities or pretend that everything is perfect. It means being brave enough to acknowledge your fears and limitations without letting them define you. When you speak to yourself with honesty and respect, you confront your fears with courage and resolve. You recognize that fear is a natural part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to control your actions or your mindset. Another challenge to speaking to yourself with honesty and respect is the pressure to conform to societal expectations. From a young age, we are taught to meet certain standards of success, appearance, and behavior. These external pressures can lead us to internalize unrealistic expectations, causing us to doubt our own worth and abilities. We may feel as though we have to live up to a certain image or perform according to others' standards in order to be accepted or valued. But when you speak to yourself with honesty and respect, you let go of these external pressures and focus on your own truth. You realize that your worth is not determined by what others think of you, but by how you perceive yourself. Speaking to yourself with honesty also means embracing vulnerability. It's easy to hide behind a facade of strength and confidence, especially when you're facing challenges. But true strength comes from being authentic and vulnerable, from acknowledging your struggles and fears without shame. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create space for growth, connection, and healing. You stop pretending to have it all together and start embracing the messy, imperfect, beautiful process of becoming who you are meant to be. Respecting yourself also means setting healthy boundaries. It's about recognizing that you have the right to say no to things that drain your energy, harm your well-being, or interfere with your values. Too often, we say yes to things out of obligation or fear of disappointing others, but this ultimately leads to burnout and resentment. When you speak to yourself with respect, you honor your needs, desires, and limitations. You prioritize your well-being and make choices that align with your highest good. This may mean making difficult decisions, but ultimately, it allows you to create a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and true to who you are. In addition to setting boundaries, speaking to yourself with respect means practicing self-compassion. Self-compassion is the ability to treat yourself with kindness and understanding when you make mistakes or encounter challenges. It's about recognizing that you are human, and like everyone else, you will experience setbacks and failures. Instead of beating yourself up or harshly criticizing yourself, you offer yourself the same support and encouragement that you would offer to a friend. You remind yourself that mistakes are opportunities for growth and that you are worthy of love and acceptance, no matter what. Over time, speaking to yourself with honesty and full respect will become second nature. The more you practice self-honesty, the more confident and empowered you will feel. You'll stop seeking validation from others and start looking inward for the answers and strength you need. You'll cultivate a deep sense of self-respect, recognizing your worth and abilities without hesitation or doubt. And as you continue to speak to yourself with honesty and respect, you'll create a life that reflects the truth of who you are, strong, capable, and deserving of all the success, happiness, and fulfillment that you desire. Chapter 11. Rewire your beliefs by questioning what limits you. Your beliefs are the foundation upon which your life is built. They shape your perceptions, your reactions, and ultimately your reality. If you hold beliefs that limit you, then you are unconsciously constructing barriers that prevent you from reaching your full potential. These limitations often go unnoticed because they are so deeply ingrained in your thinking. However, they are not immutable truths. They are simply beliefs, and beliefs can be questioned, challenged, and changed. To truly rewire your beliefs, you must first become aware of the ones that are limiting you. This requires deep self-reflection and a willingness to question long-held assumptions. Many of us go through life with the belief that certain things are simply how things are, without ever stopping to ask if they are really true. For example, you might believe that success is reserved for the few, that you're not good enough, or that you'll never be able to overcome your past mistakes. These beliefs, while they may feel like reality, are often simply self-imposed limits. They prevent you from trying new things, taking risks, or stepping out of your comfort zone. If you want to rewire these beliefs, you must first recognize them for what they are: thoughts and perceptions that are holding you back. Start by taking a close look at your inner dialogue. What do you consistently tell yourself? Do you believe that you're capable of achieving your goals, or do you constantly remind yourself of your shortcomings? Do you think that obstacles are insurmountable, or do you see them as challenges to overcome? If you find that your thoughts are dominated by negativity and self-doubt, it's a clear sign that your beliefs are limiting you. Once you've identified the beliefs that are restricting your growth, the next step is to question their validity. Ask yourself, is this belief truly true? What evidence do I have to support it? Have I ever achieved something that contradicts this belief? Often, when you start to examine the evidence, you'll realize that your limiting beliefs are based on assumptions or past experiences that no longer hold relevance in your current life. For example, you may have failed at something in the past and assumed that failure defines your abilities. But failure is not a reflection of your worth. It is simply a stepping stone on the path to success. When you challenge the belief that failure equals inadequacy, you begin to free yourself from its grip. It's also important to recognize that limiting beliefs often come from external sources. Perhaps you were told growing up that you weren't smart enough or capable enough to achieve certain things. Maybe someone in your life, whether intentionally or unintentionally, instilled these limiting beliefs in you. But just because someone else believed these things about you doesn't mean they are true. Other people's opinions are reflections of their own beliefs and experiences, not your potential. When you start to question these external influences, you can separate what you truly believe about yourself from what others have told you to believe. Rewiring your beliefs requires you to take a critical look at the stories you tell yourself. We all have narratives that we repeat in our minds, often without even realizing it. These stories define how we view the world and our place within it. Some of these stories empower us, while others hold us back. If you believe that success is reserved for others, you will subconsciously act in ways that make success seem unattainable. On the other hand, if you believe that success is something you can achieve through hard work and perseverance, you will be more likely to take consistent action toward your goals. The story you tell yourself shapes your actions, and your actions ultimately create your reality. When you change the story you tell yourself, you change your perception of what is possible. If you consistently reinforce the belief that you are capable of achieving greatness, you will start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You will develop a mindset that is focused on growth rather than limitation. This shift in perspective is essential if you want to rewire your beliefs. The more you affirm your own potential, the more you will begin to believe in it. One powerful tool in rewiring your beliefs is the practice of visualization. Visualization allows you to mentally rehearse success before it happens. By vividly imagining yourself achieving your goals, you start to create a new belief about what is possible for you. When you visualize yourself succeeding, you reinforce the belief that success is not only possible, but inevitable. This practice helps you break free from the limitations of your old beliefs and step into a new reality where you are in control of your own destiny. In addition to visualization, it's important to surround yourself with influences that support your growth. The people you spend time with, the books you read, and the media you consume all play a role in shaping your beliefs. If you surround yourself with negative limiting influences, you will find it much harder to break free from your old beliefs. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who believe in their own potential and encourage you to do the same, you will be more likely to adopt empowering beliefs. Seek out mentors, coaches, or communities that inspire you to challenge your limitations and reach for higher levels of success. The process of rewiring your beliefs is not a quick fix, it's a long-term commitment. It requires consistent effort, patience, and dedication. There will be setbacks along the way, and old limiting beliefs may resurface. But the key is to recognize them for what they are, temporary thoughts that do not define your reality. Every time you challenge a limiting belief and replace it with a more empowering one, you are one step closer to creating the life you truly want. As you rewire your beliefs, you will also need to take action. Beliefs alone will not create change. It is through consistent effort that your beliefs are reinforced and made real. For example, if you believe that you are capable of running a marathon, you must take action by training, preparing, and putting in the work. Your belief in your ability to run a marathon will not manifest without the necessary steps. But when you combine a belief in your potential with purposeful action, you start to see results. Action is the bridge between belief and reality. Rewiring your beliefs also means letting go of perfectionism. Many people hold themselves back from taking action because they are afraid of making mistakes or failing. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of the process. Embrace the idea that mistakes are valuable lessons that will help you grow. The more you let go of the need to be perfect, the more freedom you will have to take risks and pursue your goals with confidence. Remember that you are in control of your beliefs. You can choose to let go of the ones that limit you and replace them with ones that empower you. As you do this, you will begin to notice changes in how you approach challenges, opportunities, and life itself. You will start to see yourself as someone who is capable of achieving great things, and you will take the necessary steps to make those things a reality. Rewiring your beliefs is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process of growth, self-discovery, and transformation. Keep questioning the beliefs that limit you and replace them with the ones that will propel you forward. By doing so, you will unlock your true potential and create a life that reflects the greatness within you. Chapter 12. Visualize your progress every morning with intention. Every morning when you wake up, you have a blank slate, a new day filled with infinite possibilities. The first few moments of your day set the tone for what's to come. They influence your mindset, your attitude, and the actions you take. One of the most powerful ways to harness this fresh start is through visualization. If you practice visualization with intention, it has the potential to transform your entire day, your mindset, and ultimately, your life. It's not a practice that just stays in your mind. It shapes your reality, actions, and the choices you make. Visualization is the process of mentally rehearsing your goals, your progress, and your desired outcomes. But the key is doing this with intention. It's not enough to simply imagine success. You need to visualize with clarity, with purpose, and with a deep belief that the progress you see is achievable. The power of visualization lies in how it aligns your mind with your goals, helping you move forward with greater focus and determination. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is still fresh, and you're in a state that's highly receptive to influence. The first thoughts you entertain, the first things you focus on, will shape your perception of the day. That's why it's so important to start each morning by visualizing your progress. Not only should you visualize the end goal, but you should also vividly imagine the steps along the way. See yourself taking consistent, focused actions that bring you closer to your goals. Visualize the work you need to do, the decisions you will make, and the challenges you'll overcome. Imagine how each action compounds to bring you closer to your desired result. Start by sitting quietly for a moment and breathing deeply. Close your eyes and picture the outcome you desire. Whether it's a career milestone, a personal achievement, or simply a day where you're performing at your best, visualize it as vividly as possible. See the details clearly. What does success look like for you? What does it feel like? Let the emotions of that success fill you up. When you see your goals with this level of detail, your mind becomes attuned to what is needed to make that success a reality. But visualization doesn't stop there. It's not just about imagining the end result, it's about aligning your mind with the process. Visualize yourself progressing step by step. Visualize how each action you take contributes to the larger vision. Imagine how you'll stay focused when distractions arise, how you'll push through challenges, and how you'll stay disciplined even when things get tough. These are the moments that matter. This is where the power of intention comes in. The more intentional your visualization, the more real and achievable it feels. The more you visualize these small wins, the easier it becomes to focus on what truly matters and take the necessary action. When you visualize your progress, you're not just thinking about an outcome. You're training your brain to become familiar with success, to recognize the necessary actions, and to reinforce the belief that it's possible. This practice rewires your brain, building neural pathways that help you stay on track. The more consistently you visualize your goals, the more your mind expects success. It helps to eliminate doubt and fosters a mindset that believes in the possibility of achievement. Another powerful aspect of visualization is the way it reinforces positive emotions. When you picture yourself making progress, you connect with the emotions that accompany your success. You feel the pride of a job well done, the satisfaction of overcoming obstacles, and the excitement of moving closer to your goals. These emotions are what propel you forward. When you attach positive feelings to the process of working toward your goals, you build momentum that fuels your actions. Visualization helps you associate hard work, dedication, and perseverance with positive emotions, making the entire journey feel more fulfilling. One important thing to remember is that visualization is not about escaping reality. It's about preparing your mind for it. You visualize not only the moments of success, but also the challenges. This way, when you encounter setbacks or obstacles, your mind is already prepared to handle them. You've already seen yourself overcoming challenges, so when they arise, they don't feel like insurmountable roadblocks. Instead, they become part of the process. Visualization helps you build resilience, as you've already mentally rehearsed the moments when things might not go according to plan. It gives you a sense of control and calmness in the face of uncertainty. Another crucial part of visualization is to set specific, measurable intentions for the day. It's not enough to just visualize vague success. To make this practice truly effective, you must visualize your progress in actionable terms. Each morning, think about what you need to do today to move closer to your long-term goals. Break your bigger goals into smaller tasks and focus on the ones that are most important. Visualizing your progress includes knowing the specific steps you will take to make that progress a reality. Whether it's a meeting you need to prepare for, a workout you need to complete, or a deadline you need to meet, visualize yourself accomplishing these tasks with focus and clarity. Once you've visualized your actions, it's important to visualize yourself completing them with a sense of fulfillment. Don't just see the task as something you have to get done. Imagine how good it feels when you've completed it. Visualization connects your actions to positive outcomes, which strengthens your motivation to take those actions. The more you associate your daily tasks with feelings of success, the easier it becomes to stay committed to them. It's also important to note that the power of visualization comes from the consistency of the practice. This isn't something that will change your life overnight. The key is to make visualization a daily habit, something that you do every morning with intention. Just like building physical strength takes consistent effort, so does mental strength. The more regularly you visualize your progress, the more ingrained it becomes in your mind. It's a practice that compounds over time, gradually aligning your mind and actions with the goals you're working toward. To make visualization even more powerful, try to incorporate all your senses. Don't just visualize the outcome, engage with it, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, and even smell the success. The more you immerse yourself in the experience, the stronger the effect of visualization. Engaging your senses in this way helps to make the visualized experience more real and vivid in your mind, allowing you to internalize it more deeply. Lastly, remember that visualization is not a passive activity. It is a mental rehearsal that prepares you for action. As you visualize your progress, remind yourself that you have to do the work to make it happen. The visualization gives you the mental clarity and focus you need, but it's up to you to follow through. The power of this practice lies not just in imagining success, but in taking the necessary actions to make that success a reality. Every morning, as you visualize your progress, remind yourself that your thoughts are aligned with your intentions and your actions will follow. When you make visualization a consistent, intentional part of your daily routine, you tap into a powerful tool that propels you toward your goals. It helps you stay grounded, focused, and motivated throughout the day. Visualization helps you begin each day with clarity, purpose, and confidence. When you consistently visualize your progress, you rewire your brain to expect success, to embrace challenges, and to take inspired action. Over time, this practice builds momentum and leads to powerful transformation. So each morning, take a few moments to center yourself, breathe deeply, and visualize the progress you'll make that day. And remember, the more clearly you see it, the more likely it is to become your reality. Chapter 13. Push yourself when it's hard and stay consistent. It's easy to push yourself when everything feels right. When the path is clear, when your energy is high, when success feels within reach, that's when the effort seems most worthwhile. But what about when it's hard? What about when the obstacles feel heavy, the momentum stalls, and the fatigue sets in? That's the true test of consistency. It's in those moments when the challenge feels too great that you need to push yourself the most. It's in those hard moments that you decide who you're becoming. Pushing yourself when it's hard is not just about digging deep. It's about proving to yourself that you are stronger than the resistance. The truth is, consistency is built in those moments of discomfort. The days when you want to quit, when you feel like you've given all you have to give, are the days that truly define your character and your future success. Consistency is often misunderstood. People think it's about doing the same thing every day, regardless of circumstances. But true consistency isn't blind repetition. True consistency is about showing up, no matter the challenge, with an attitude of growth, resilience, and purpose. It's about committing to your goals, even when the path gets tough. The more you push yourself in these difficult moments, the more you show yourself that you are capable of persevering. And the more capable you feel, the more consistent you become in your efforts. This is how discipline is cultivated. It's not about perfection. It's about the determination to keep going when it would be easier to stop. In moments of hardship, the temptation to quit can feel overwhelming. Your mind may tell you that you've done enough, that you've worked hard enough, and that the pain or the struggle is not worth it. But here's the reality. Every time you push through, you expand your limits. Every time you stay consistent in the face of adversity, you build resilience. The process of pushing through is what leads to growth, and the more you push through, the more you rewire your mind to expect success, even when the journey is tough. Consistency doesn't mean doing the same thing without fail. It means continuing to show up, even when it feels like you have nothing left. It's the ability to push yourself even when the effort feels futile. You have to remind yourself that real progress is made in those moments when everything in you wants to quit. This is the point where breakthroughs happen. It's easy to be motivated when everything is going smoothly, but the true test is how you show up when you're tired, when the obstacles are stacked high, when you face the temptation to give up. In these moments, you learn that it's not about how much energy you have, it's about making the choice to keep going. The discomfort, the resistance, the obstacles, they are all part of the journey. But each challenge is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can rise above it. The more you face resistance, the stronger you become. Resistance is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Each time you push through it, you create a new version of yourself, one that is more resilient, more capable, and more committed to the process. When things are hard, you may find yourself questioning whether it's worth it. You may wonder if all the effort you're putting in is actually getting you anywhere. This is a natural part of the process. It's in these moments that the power of consistency truly comes to life. Remember, progress is not always linear. There are days when it feels like you're moving backward, but if you stay consistent, you're still moving forward. You just have to trust that every effort, no matter how small it seems, is compounding to bring you closer to your goals. The key is to never lose sight of the bigger picture. Even when it feels hard, even when it feels slow, keep pushing forward. The consistency you build today is what will pay off tomorrow. Staying consistent when things are hard also requires a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing challenges as setbacks, view them as stepping stones. Every obstacle is an opportunity to learn and grow. It's not the challenge that defines you, it's how you respond to it. The ability to stay consistent in tough times is a testament to your mental toughness, your determination, and your long-term vision. When things get tough, it's crucial to remind yourself that these moments of struggle are temporary. The discomfort you feel now will eventually give way to growth. When you push through, you make progress, and with every step you take, you get closer to the person you want to be. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you face challenges, but the key is not to focus on how hard things are in the moment. Instead, focus on the steps you need to take to get through it. When you break it down into manageable actions, the burden feels lighter. Focus on the next step, not the entire journey. When you're in the thick of it, just keep moving. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Consistency doesn't require perfection. It requires perseverance. It's about committing to the process, even when you don't feel like it, and taking it one step at a time. In those moments when everything feels hard, ask yourself, what is my why? Why did you start this journey in the first place? What do you want to achieve? Your why is the fuel that keeps you going when the fire seems to be burning out. When you stay connected to your purpose, you find the strength to keep going, even when it's hard. When you're clear about your reason for pushing forward, every difficult moment becomes a part of a much larger story. Each challenge you face is one step closer to fulfilling your purpose. It's also important to acknowledge the progress you've made, even in difficult times. It's easy to become so focused on the end goal that you forget to recognize the small wins along the way. Every time you push through a hard moment, you are making progress. Every time you stay consistent, no matter how small the task, you are moving forward. Acknowledge these victories, celebrate them, and use them as fuel to keep going. The more you recognize your growth, the more motivated you'll become. You will face times when staying consistent feels like an uphill battle. There will be days when you want to quit, days when you question if it's worth it, and days when the resistance feels insurmountable. But it's precisely in these moments that you need to remember that you have the power to push through. Consistency is not about avoiding the struggle. It's about committing to show up, even when things are tough. When you push yourself in the hardest moments, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than any obstacle. This journey isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be. But the hardest moments are often the ones that shape you the most. By staying consistent and pushing through, you develop the resilience you need to achieve greatness. Remember that no matter how hard it gets, you are always capable of more than you think. The power to keep going, even when it's hard, is what will set you apart. Push yourself when it's hard. Stay consistent and watch how your persistence creates the success you've been working for. Chapter 14. Challenge every excuse that holds you back daily. Every day, we face a barrage of excuses. These excuses are like walls that we build around ourselves, telling us why we can't take action, why we can't pursue our dreams, why we can't push through adversity. These excuses may seem harmless at first, but they are the silent killers of progress. Each one whispers that you're not capable, not ready, or not worthy. They feed into our doubts and insecurities, chaining us to a place of comfort and stagnation. But if you want to break free and build the life you truly desire, you must challenge these excuses every single day. The first step is recognizing them for what they are, lies that your mind tells you in order to protect you from discomfort. These lies are often built on fear, uncertainty, or a lack of confidence. They are not rooted in truth, but in the perception of your limitations. When you challenge your excuses, you step into the realm of possibility. You take control of the narrative and stop letting fear dictate your actions. Think about the last time you made an excuse for not doing something important. Maybe it was putting off a workout, avoiding a difficult conversation, or procrastinating on a task that you knew would move you forward. The excuse you gave was likely something like, "I don't have enough time, I'm too tired, or I'm not in the right headspace." These are the most common excuses we use to avoid discomfort. They give us a reason to delay taking action. They give us an easy out, a way to avoid confronting the challenge head-on. But every time you give in to an excuse, you make it harder to take action the next time. Excuses become habitual. They start to feel like truths, and soon you stop questioning them altogether. But here's the reality: you will never be in the perfect place to start. You will never have everything figured out. You will never feel 100% ready. The conditions for success rarely align perfectly, and if you wait for them to, you will be waiting forever. You must challenge the belief that you need to feel ready or comfortable to begin. You will always face some form of resistance when you're about to step outside your comfort zone, and that's okay. The discomfort is a sign that you're growing, that you're pushing beyond what you thought was possible. Excuses also come from a deep place of self-doubt. When you tell yourself that you're not capable, or that you don't have what it takes, you are reinforcing a belief that limits you. These beliefs don't serve you. They only keep you stuck in a cycle of inaction and missed opportunities. By challenging every excuse that arises, you begin to break down the walls you've built around yourself. You create new beliefs, beliefs that empower you to take action, even when you don't feel like it, even when the odds seem stacked against you. The key to overcoming excuses is developing a mindset of radical responsibility. Instead of looking outside of yourself for reasons why you can't succeed, start looking inward. Take ownership of your actions, your decisions, and your outcomes. Ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? Focus on the areas where you have power and influence. When you take responsibility for your life, you stop blaming external circumstances and start taking action. Excuses no longer have a hold on you because you understand that your success is up to you. Another powerful way to challenge your excuses is by reframing the situation. Instead of seeing a task as something difficult or overwhelming, look at it as an opportunity for growth. Every challenge you face is a chance to become stronger, more resilient, and more capable. When you shift your perspective, you change the way you approach challenges. Instead of shrinking back in fear, you lean in with courage and determination. You stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as stepping stones toward your goals. One of the most effective ways to defeat excuses is by setting clear, actionable goals. When you have a concrete vision of what you want to achieve and a roadmap for how to get there, excuses become less powerful. It's much harder to justify procrastination or avoidance when you have a clear sense of direction. Goals give you something to focus on, something to strive for, and something to remind you why you're putting in the effort in the first place. Set goals that are challenging but attainable. Break them down into small, manageable steps and hold yourself accountable. When you have a specific target in mind, it becomes harder to convince yourself that you can't do it. Excuses fall away when you see the path clearly laid out before you. But even with goals in place, excuses will still try to creep in. They are the easy way out, the comfortable choice. The key is to recognize them and challenge them before they have a chance to take root. It's also important to remember that no one is immune to excuses. We all face them, no matter how successful or driven we may appear on the outside. What sets successful people apart is not that they never have excuses, but that they don't let those excuses stop them. They challenge them, push through them, and keep moving forward despite them. Success is not about avoiding difficulties, it's about developing the mental toughness to keep going when the going gets tough. When you find yourself making an excuse, ask yourself a simple question: what would I do if this excuse didn't exist? When you remove the excuse from the equation, what's left is the truth. You can do it. You are capable. You have the power to take action. The only thing standing in your way is your own mind. Start by questioning the small excuses. The ones that seem insignificant, like telling yourself you'll do something tomorrow or convincing yourself you deserve a break. These are the little lies we tell ourselves every day that add up over time. By challenging the small excuses, you begin to build a habit of taking action instead of delaying it. As you gain momentum, the bigger excuses will start to lose their power. You'll begin to see them for what they are: temporary barriers that can be overcome with the right mindset and determination. One of the most effective ways to overcome excuses is to take immediate action. Don't give yourself time to talk yourself out of it. If you've been putting off a task, make a decision to do something about it right now. Take a small step forward, even if it's just a tiny one. The moment you take action, you break the cycle of procrastination and self-doubt. The longer you wait to act, the more power your excuses gain. The sooner you act, the less time your mind has to convince you that it's not worth it. Accountability is another powerful tool in combating excuses. When you have someone to answer to, you are less likely to let excuses derail you. Share your goals with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach who will hold you accountable. Let them know about the challenges you're facing and the excuses you're battling. Having someone else in your corner will make you more committed to pushing through, even when the excuses feel strong. As you challenge each excuse, you'll begin to see patterns. You'll notice which ones show up most frequently and which ones are the hardest to overcome. Recognize these patterns as opportunities for growth. The excuses that are the hardest to challenge are often the ones tied to your deepest fears and insecurities. These are the areas where you have the most to gain by pushing through. The more you confront these fears, the more empowered you become. The journey of challenging excuses is ongoing. Every day presents new opportunities to confront the lies we tell ourselves. The key is to stay vigilant. The more you challenge your excuses, the more you strengthen your ability to take consistent, purposeful action. You stop letting excuses hold you back from your dreams and start stepping into the life you've always wanted to create. Chapter 15. Develop patience by staying present in every moment. Patience is a powerful force, one that can shape the course of your life in ways that instant gratification never could. We live in a world that demands immediacy. Everything is expected to happen now, in the blink of an eye, whether it's the instant delivery of our food, the quick fixes in our personal lives, or the constant desire for immediate results in our work. We are conditioned to believe that everything should be at our fingertips, ready and waiting. However, real growth and meaningful progress don't happen in a rush. They unfold slowly, steadily, and deliberately over time. Developing patience begins by embracing the present moment and resisting the urge to rush through life. We often forget that every single moment we are living in is a gift, an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. But in our fast-paced world, we can easily overlook the present, always thinking ahead, always rushing to the next thing. It's easy to get caught up in the chase for future achievements, but the only way to truly cultivate patience is to learn how to stay present and fully engaged with what is happening right now. When we stay present, we step out of the constant noise of our minds and into the quiet stillness of the moment. In this space, we can access our most grounded and centered self. It's here that we can begin to reframe how we think about time, success, and progress. Rather than feeling anxious about what's to come, we can appreciate what is already unfolding. Staying present means embracing the journey, no matter how slow or challenging it may feel at times. It's about trusting that everything you are experiencing right now is exactly what you need for your growth. Patience starts with awareness. It's about recognizing when you are becoming impatient and understanding the underlying reasons for that impatience. Often, impatience arises when we feel like we're not where we should be. We compare ourselves to others or to an idealized version of what we believe success looks like, and we judge ourselves harshly for not being there yet. But this line of thinking is dangerous. It leads to unnecessary stress, frustration, and self-criticism. The truth is, there is no should in life. There is only where you are right now. The present moment is all that matters. It's the only place where change can happen, and it's the only place where you have the power to act. When you stay focused on the present, you start to see life differently. Instead of getting lost in the future or past, you begin to find beauty and meaning in the present. You recognize that every step you take, no matter how small, is a part of the journey. This mindset shift can help you cultivate patience by understanding that growth takes time and that there is no need to rush. You are exactly where you need to be. One of the most common causes of impatience is the desire for immediate results. We live in a world that glorifies speed. We want success now. We want the promotions, the achievements, the accolades, and the recognition all in the blink of an eye. But patience teaches us a different lesson. It reminds us that true success is built over time, through consistent effort, reflection, and dedication. It is not something that can be rushed or forced. The danger of seeking instant results is that it can lead to burnout, disappointment, and a sense of dissatisfaction. When you expect immediate results, you set yourself up for frustration because the process of growth is rarely linear. There are twists, turns, setbacks, and detours along the way. Patience teaches us to embrace these moments of uncertainty as part of the process. It helps us understand that failure is not a sign of defeat, but a natural part of learning and growth. This is why staying present is so important. When you focus on the moment, you release the pressure of the future and the expectations that come with it. You can approach each challenge, each task, and each day with the mindset that you are exactly where you need to be, no matter how slow the progress may feel. Patience comes not from waiting passively, but from actively engaging in the process, trusting that every step forward is taking you closer to where you want to be. One of the most powerful practices to develop patience is to slow down. In a world that constantly pushes us to move faster, slowing down feels almost counterintuitive. Yet, it's in the slowing down that we find the space to truly experience life. When you allow yourself to move at a slower pace, you become more attuned to the present. You stop rushing through tasks, conversations, and moments, and instead you immerse yourself fully in what is happening right now. You learn to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. Slowing down allows you to savor each experience, to engage more deeply with your surroundings, and to listen to the subtle messages that life is offering you. It's in the quiet moments of stillness that you can find clarity, direction, and peace. By resisting the urge to rush, you give yourself the time and space to reflect, to understand, and to grow. Another key aspect of developing patience is learning to manage your expectations. We often set unrealistic timelines for ourselves, believing that we should have achieved more by a certain point. But when you challenge these timelines and let go of the need for immediate results, you free yourself from unnecessary pressure. You begin to understand that the path to success is rarely straightforward, and that each moment of waiting, each moment of uncertainty, is part of the bigger picture. When you learn to manage your expectations, you also cultivate a sense of self-compassion. You stop being so hard on yourself when things don't go according to plan. Instead of beating yourself up for not achieving your goals as quickly as you'd like, you approach yourself with understanding and kindness. You recognize that you are doing the best you can with the resources and circumstances available to you, and that is more than enough. Developing patience also requires you to embrace discomfort. It's easy to be patient when things are going smoothly, but true patience is tested when things aren't going as planned. When you face obstacles, setbacks, or delays, that's when your patience is really put to the test. But it's in these moments that patience becomes most powerful. When you can stay calm and centered, even in the face of adversity, you demonstrate resilience and inner strength. Patience doesn't mean passivity, it means maintaining your composure and continuing to move forward, even when things aren't going the way you expected. It's the ability to remain focused on the long-term goal and trust that everything will unfold in its own time. It's the awareness that while you cannot control everything, you can control how you respond to the circumstances around you. Finally, developing patience is an ongoing process. It is not something that can be mastered overnight. It requires continuous practice, mindfulness, and a willingness to embrace the ups and downs of life. But with each passing day, as you learn to stay present and let go of the need for instant results, you build a deeper sense of patience that becomes ingrained in your character. When you embrace patience, You align yourself with the natural rhythm of life. You stop fighting against time and start flowing with it. You begin to see that every moment holds the potential for growth and that the best things in life are worth the wait. Chapter 16. Track your mental growth and stay fully accountable. Tracking your mental growth is one of the most powerful ways to stay fully accountable to your personal development journey. It allows you to observe where you've come from, recognize patterns in your thinking, and adjust your mindset as you continue forward. But the key to making this truly effective is consistency. Without consistent tracking, it's easy to lose sight of your progress or fail to see the areas where you need improvement. Accountability doesn't come just from other people. It starts with holding yourself accountable. You have to measure your mental growth daily and be honest with yourself about where you are in your personal development. When you commit to tracking your mental growth, you are taking a step toward becoming more intentional with your thoughts, actions, and behaviors. You begin to develop a deep awareness of your mindset, allowing you to recognize when you're slipping into negative thinking or when you're truly advancing. The truth is, growth isn't always linear. Some days you'll feel on top of the world, while other days you may struggle with self-doubt. The key is not to be discouraged by those challenging moments, but to track them, understand them, and grow from them. Tracking mental growth isn't about measuring success in terms of achievements alone, like hitting milestones or completing goals. It's about measuring the way you think, your emotional responses, your resilience, and how you face adversity. It's about noting the moments when you've overcome limiting beliefs, or when you've managed to respond to difficult situations with grace and clarity. These are the moments that reflect true growth, even when it's not immediately obvious. Start by setting aside time every day to reflect on your thoughts and actions. Ask yourself, what did I do today to improve my mental strength? How did I respond to challenges? Did I take control of my thoughts, or did I let negativity take over? This simple habit of self-reflection will bring you a clear understanding of where you are and where you need to go. It's in these quiet moments of introspection that you gain the most insight into your progress. Another key component of tracking your mental growth is setting measurable mental goals. Just as you track your progress toward physical or financial goals, it's equally important to track how you're progressing mentally. What does mental growth look like for you? Perhaps it's staying calm under stress, reducing negative self-talk, or developing greater self-awareness. Whatever your mental goals may be, make them specific and measurable. When you have clear goals, you give yourself something to aim for, and you can track your progress over time. For example, if one of your goals is to reduce negative thinking, you could start by measuring how often negative thoughts arise throughout your day. You might use a journal to track each instance and write down how you overcame it or what positive thought you replaced it with. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns in your thinking. Perhaps you notice that certain situations or triggers tend to bring out negative thoughts. Knowing this allows you to adjust your approach and work on reframing those situations to maintain a positive mindset. Accountability goes hand in hand with tracking your mental growth. It's not enough to simply reflect on your thoughts and behaviors. You also need to hold yourself accountable for your progress. The truth is, personal growth is easy to neglect unless you have someone or something reminding you to stay consistent. When you're accountable to yourself, you stay on track, even when things get tough. One of the most effective ways to hold yourself accountable is to track your mental growth in a physical form. This could be through journaling, writing down your thoughts, and reflecting on them. Documenting your mental journey allows you to see your growth in real time. At the end of each day or week, review what you've written, look for patterns, and identify areas for improvement. Have you become more resilient in the face of challenges? Are you more aware of your thought patterns? Are you reacting more mindfully instead of impulsively? Tracking these moments of growth will motivate you to continue pushing forward. Another powerful tool for accountability is telling others about your goals. While personal growth is a deeply individual experience, sharing your mental growth goals with trusted friends or mentors can help you stay accountable. When you verbalize your goals, you not only make them more real, but you also invite others to check in on your progress. This external accountability can be an invaluable motivator when the road gets tough. Your support system can offer you encouragement, honest feedback, and advice on how to continue growing. They may point out patterns that you can't see or provide insight into areas where you might be slipping. Having a trusted person who holds you accountable can significantly accelerate your mental growth, as they offer a perspective outside of your own. It's also important to track setbacks, not just progress. While celebrating wins is essential, acknowledging when things don't go as planned is equally crucial. Growth isn't about being perfect every single day, it's about learning from the challenges and setbacks. There will be moments when you feel frustrated or discouraged, and that's okay. In fact, those moments are some of the most valuable learning opportunities you'll have. The key is not to let those setbacks derail your progress. Instead, view them as feedback. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time? By tracking these moments, you'll gradually learn to approach challenges with a mindset of resilience and growth. While tracking progress is vital, it's also important to measure consistency. Mental growth doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen through sporadic bursts of effort. It's about showing up every single day, even when it's hard. Just like with any other area of life, the compound effect of small, consistent actions is what leads to lasting change. When you track your consistency, you make it easier to spot patterns in your behavior. You can look back over weeks or months and see how consistent you've been with your mental practices. Have you been consistently journaling, meditating, or practicing gratitude? Have you been consistent in challenging your negative beliefs? The more consistent you are, the faster you'll see results, and the more accountable you'll feel toward your mental growth. The journey of mental growth is long, and sometimes difficult. However, by tracking your progress and staying accountable, you ensure that you're always moving forward. It's easy to lose sight of how far you've come when the changes are gradual, but when you track your mental growth, you have tangible proof of the progress you've made. This proof becomes fuel for the fire, motivating you to keep pushing forward even when the path seems unclear. Ultimately, the key to tracking your mental growth and staying accountable is to remain committed. Success in mental growth doesn't come from one-off actions, but from consistently showing up for yourself day after day. The journey may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Keep measuring your growth, keep holding yourself accountable, and keep pushing forward. Through this dedication, you'll continue to evolve into the strongest, most resilient version of yourself. Chapter 17. Create powerful routines that strengthen your identity. Creating powerful routines that strengthen your identity is one of the most impactful strategies for developing lasting success and true personal transformation. The way you spend your time on a daily basis shapes the person you become. Your routines not only dictate what you accomplish, but also influence who you are at your core. Each action you take, every habit you form, and every choice you make adds up to define your identity. Routines are the foundation upon which you build the life you want to lead. The problem most people face is that they don't consciously design their routines. They fall into default habits, responding to whatever life throws at them without thinking about the long-term impact. Without intention, these default routines often reinforce weak habits, reinforce self-doubt, and prevent personal growth. But when you take control of your daily rituals, when you intentionally design your life around routines that align with the person you want to be, you unlock a power that can transform your life. It starts with understanding that identity isn't just a concept, it's something you create through the repeated actions you take. Who you are today is the sum of your past habits. If you want to become someone who is disciplined, strong, and successful, your routines must reflect those values. You can't expect to build a powerful, resilient identity while continuing to engage in habits that hold you back or reinforce negative beliefs. You must break free from limiting behaviors and replace them with empowering routines that align with your highest aspirations. The first step in creating routines that strengthen your identity is to get clear on who you want to be. This isn't about vague ideas like, "I want to be successful" or "I want to be happy." These are great aspirations, but they are not specific enough to form the basis for a powerful routine. Instead, think about the person you want to be on a deeper level. What kind of mindset do you want to cultivate? How do you want to feel about yourself at the end of each day? What type of character traits do you want to embody? Once you have a clear vision of your ideal identity, you can begin to design routines that will support it. This requires shifting your focus from goals to systems. Goals are important, but it's the systems, the daily actions you take, that will determine whether or not you achieve those goals. If you want to build a resilient mindset, for example, your routine should include habits that strengthen your mental toughness, such as practicing gratitude, journaling your thoughts, or engaging in physical challenges that push you outside of your comfort zone. A routine is much more than a list of tasks. It's a system that feeds your identity. For instance, if you want to be a person who is disciplined and productive, your routine might include setting clear priorities for the day, eliminating distractions, and committing to focused work sessions. You might also schedule regular breaks to maintain your energy levels and prevent burnout. These habits, when consistently practiced, will create a strong foundation for your identity as someone who gets things done and follows through on commitments. The next important step is to prioritize consistency. It's easy to get motivated and start a new routine, but it's the consistency that makes the difference. Many people start routines with excitement, only to abandon them after a few days or weeks. This is where most fail. Routines must become second nature, not something you have to force yourself to do. Consistency breeds momentum. When you commit to a routine long enough to make it a habit, it starts to feel effortless. It becomes part of who you are. Start small. It's better to begin with a few key habits and focus on mastering them before adding more. If you try to change too much too quickly, you'll overwhelm yourself and risk burning out. The key is to build slowly and steadily. Focus on one or two routines that directly support the identity you're trying to cultivate, then expand from there as those habits become ingrained. For example, if you're trying to build a routine that strengthens your physical health, you might begin by committing to 10 minutes of exercise every morning. Once that becomes a natural part of your day, you can gradually increase the time or intensity. Over time, this daily habit will help you develop the identity of someone who prioritizes health and fitness, and it will naturally expand into other areas of your life. Building a powerful routine also involves managing your energy. The most effective routines are those that not only support your goals but also energize and empower you. If a routine leaves you feeling drained or uninspired, it's not the right fit for you. You must build routines that energize you mentally, physically, and emotionally. Whether it's through a morning meditation to calm your mind, an afternoon walk to refresh your body, or journaling to process your thoughts, your routine should leave you feeling energized and aligned with your true self. Another important aspect is to align your routine with your values. When you live in alignment with your core values, your routines become a reflection of your true self. This alignment gives your routine meaning and makes it easier to stay committed. For example, if you value personal growth, your routine might include reading books that challenge your thinking or listening to podcasts that inspire you to be better. If you value family, your routine might include dedicated time for family activities or conversations that deepen your connection with loved ones. However, it's not just about doing the right actions. The way you approach these routines matters. Your mindset plays a critical role in whether your routines will strengthen your identity. If you approach each routine with a sense of purpose and positivity, you'll cultivate a mindset of growth and self-improvement. If you view your routines as a chore or something you have to do, they will feel like a burden, and you'll struggle to stay consistent. On the other hand, when you approach each day with the mindset of "I get to do this," you infuse each moment with meaning and excitement. Your routines won't just be tasks to check off a list, they'll be empowering actions that help you grow into the person you want to become. Equally important is the need for flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and some days things won't go according to plan. The key is not to abandon your routine when things don't go perfectly. Instead, adjust and adapt. If you miss a workout, for example, don't beat yourself up about it. Simply adjust your schedule and find another time to fit it in. Flexibility allows you to stay on track without feeling like you've failed when things don't go as expected. This flexibility is what keeps your routines sustainable in the long term. Another powerful strategy is to track your progress. Keeping track of how well you're sticking to your routines and the results you're seeing can reinforce your commitment and provide valuable feedback. When you see that your routines are yielding positive results, whether it's increased energy, improved focus, or a stronger sense of self, you'll be motivated to continue. Tracking progress also helps you identify areas that need improvement, giving you the opportunity to refine your routine as needed. In the process of creating powerful routines that strengthen your identity, don't forget to celebrate your successes. Acknowledge the progress you've made and give yourself credit for sticking to your routines, especially when it's been difficult. Celebrating your wins, no matter how small, reinforces the positive behavior and strengthens your belief in your ability to follow through. Over time, these celebrations will become a natural part of your routine, reinforcing the identity you're creating for yourself. Ultimately, creating powerful routines is about consciously designing the life you want to live. When you align your actions with your identity and values, your routines become a tool for self-transformation. By prioritizing consistency, managing your energy, and staying flexible, you'll create routines that not only help you reach your goals, but also help you become the best version of yourself. Through dedication, self-awareness, and a commitment to growth, you can turn your routines into the foundation of a powerful, purposeful life. Chapter 18. Stay grounded by cutting mental noise each day. Staying grounded in today's fast-paced, always connected world can be one of the most challenging tasks you'll face. Our minds are constantly bombarded by distractions, external pressures, and a never-ending flow of information. We are pulled in every direction, constantly fighting for our attention. Yet, amidst the noise and chaos, the ability to find stillness and remain grounded is crucial to maintaining mental clarity, emotional stability, and a sense of purpose. To truly stay grounded, you must first understand the nature of mental noise. It's the constant chatter in your mind, the endless stream of thoughts, worries, distractions, and expectations that often make it difficult to focus or find peace. This mental noise can cloud your judgment, drain your energy, and prevent you from fully engaging in the present moment. In a world that's moving faster than ever, cutting through that noise is the key to regaining control over your life and your mindset. The first step to staying grounded is becoming aware of the noise itself. Most people go through their days with little awareness of how much mental clutter they carry. It's like living in a house filled with distractions, music blaring, phones buzzing, and people talking. But you can't focus on anything because you're constantly being interrupted. Similarly, your mind is constantly filled with distractions. Your inner dialogue might be telling you what you need to do next, worrying about things you can't control, or thinking about the past. This noise can easily take over and prevent you from being present or focusing on what really matters. Awareness is the key to breaking free from this cycle. The more you understand your thoughts, the better you can manage them. Start by noticing when your mind begins to wander or when you're getting lost in negative thought patterns. Are you replaying past mistakes? Are you worrying about things that are beyond your control? By catching these moments of mental noise, you create an opportunity to choose whether or not to engage with them. Once you become aware of the noise, you can begin to take action to cut through it. One of the most effective ways to do this is through mindfulness practices. Mindfulness is the practice of focusing on the present moment without judgment, and it's one of the most powerful tools for staying grounded. By paying attention to your breath, your body, and your surroundings, you bring your awareness back to the here and now, where you can start to quiet the mental chatter. With regular practice, mindfulness becomes a way of being, a way of cutting through the noise and staying present in every moment. Another powerful method for cutting mental noise is to take breaks from information overload. We live in an age where we're constantly connected to the internet, social media, and a never-ending stream of news. While it's important to stay informed, it's equally important to step away from this flood of information. Your mind needs space to rest, reflect, and recharge. When you take regular breaks from the constant bombardment of information, you create room for clarity and focus. This can mean turning off notifications, limiting your time on social media, or setting aside designated times to read or check the news. Creating boundaries around your mental space is also crucial for staying grounded. In many ways, your mind is like a garden. What you choose to plant in it grows. If you constantly fill your mind with negativity, worries, or distractions, those will dominate your thoughts and shape your outlook. On the other hand, if you actively choose to cultivate positive, empowering thoughts, your mindset will naturally reflect that. To do this, it's essential to be mindful of what you're feeding your mind. What kind of content do you consume? Are the people around you supportive and encouraging, or are they draining and negative? Be selective about what you expose yourself to, and make sure it aligns with your values and goals. One of the most effective practices for cutting mental noise is meditation. Meditation teaches you to focus on the present moment and detach from the constant stream of thoughts. It provides you with the tools to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. When you meditate, you learn to let go of the mental chatter and simply be with your thoughts, rather than allowing them to control you. The beauty of meditation lies in its simplicity. You don't need to sit for hours or engage in complex techniques to experience its benefits. Even just a few minutes each day can have a profound impact on your ability to stay grounded and centered. Physical activity is another powerful way to cut through mental noise and stay grounded. Exercise helps to release pent-up stress and anxiety, clearing your mind and boosting your mood. Whether you're going for a run, practicing yoga, or lifting weights, physical activity engages your body in a way that forces you to be present. When you're focused on your movements, your breath, or your form, you're less likely to get lost in the noise of your thoughts. Physical activity also helps regulate your emotions, which can prevent your mind from becoming overwhelmed by stress or negative emotions. In addition to these practices, it's important to create a sense of structure in your day. When you have a routine that grounds you, it becomes easier to stay present and cut through the noise. Routines provide a sense of stability and predictability, which helps you stay focused on what's important. Whether it's a morning routine that sets the tone for your day, or an evening routine that helps you wind down, having structure in your day gives you something solid to hold on to amidst the chaos. It allows you to prioritize your time and energy, focusing on the things that truly matter. To stay grounded, you must also be willing to simplify your life. Mental noise often arises from overwhelm and clutter, whether it's physical clutter in your environment or mental clutter from too many commitments and distractions. Simplifying your life means eliminating unnecessary tasks, reducing the amount of clutter in your space, and focusing on what truly matters. It's about saying no to things that drain your energy and yes to things that align with your values and goals. When you simplify, you make space for peace, clarity, and presence. Another key to staying grounded is practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what you already have. It helps you stay centered and grounded in the present moment. When you practice gratitude daily, you begin to see the positive aspects of your life, even in the midst of challenges. Gratitude helps quiet the noise of dissatisfaction and fosters a mindset of appreciation, which can bring you back to a place of balance and peace. Staying grounded is not about eliminating all the noise from your life. It's about learning how to manage it. You can't control every external stimulus, but you can control how you respond to it. By incorporating mindfulness, meditation, physical activity, gratitude, and intentional boundaries, you begin to shift your mindset and create space for calm, clarity, and presence. With consistent practice, staying grounded becomes not just a goal but a way of life. You start to see the world through a lens of peace and clarity, no longer overwhelmed by mental noise but fully engaged in the present moment, where true growth and fulfillment lie. Chapter 19. Keep growing by learning from every small failure. Growth is a continuous process, one that is often forged through adversity, mistakes, and most importantly, failure. Failure is often viewed as something to be avoided, something that signals a lack of ability or a flaw in our character. But in reality, failure is not the enemy. How we respond to it determines whether it will be a setback or a stepping stone. It's through failure that we learn our most valuable lessons, refine our skills, and shape our resilience. If you can reframe your perspective on failure, you will find that it's one of the most powerful tools you have for growth. In our pursuit of progress, We sometimes fear failure to such an extent that we avoid taking risks. We tell ourselves that we're not ready or that we'll never succeed, and in doing so, we keep ourselves stuck. This fear can prevent us from trying new things, from stepping outside our comfort zones, and from embracing the full range of experiences that life offers. But every time we avoid failure, we avoid an opportunity for growth. It is in the moments of failure that we gain clarity, wisdom, and understanding about ourselves and our journey. The first step in learning from failure is to shift your mindset. Instead of viewing failure as something negative, start to see it as a natural part of the process. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. It's a winding road full of twists and turns. Every misstep, every wrong turn is an opportunity to adjust your course, to realign yourself with your goals. Failure isn't a reflection of your worth or your potential. It's simply feedback. It's a moment that tells you what isn't working, so you can focus on what will. When you learn to embrace failure, you create space for experimentation. It's only by trying things, sometimes failing, and then adjusting that you make real progress. Every small failure gives you the information you need to do things differently next time. Each attempt you make, whether successful or not, moves you closer to your goals. But if you're too afraid of failing, you may never even take that first step. When failure occurs, it's easy to get caught up in self-doubt. The natural reaction is to question your abilities, your worth, and your potential. But this is exactly the moment when you must make a conscious decision to view failure from a different lens. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of allowing the failure to define you, use it to redefine your approach. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? What could you have done differently? By answering these questions, you begin to unlock the lessons that are hidden within the failure. It's important to remember that no success comes without failure. Every successful person has encountered numerous setbacks on their journey. The difference between those who ultimately succeed and those who give up is their response to failure. When things don't go according to plan, it's easy to throw in the towel, to tell yourself it's just not meant to be. But the true key to success is persistence. The people who keep going despite their failures, who use those failures as stepping stones, are the ones who eventually reach their goals. They don't let failure stop them, they let it propel them forward. Another important aspect of learning from failure is to separate your identity from your mistakes. Too often, we internalize our failures and allow them to shape how we see ourselves. When we fail, we tell ourselves, I'm not good enough, or I'm incapable of succeeding. But failure is not who you are. It's simply something that happened. It's an event, not an identity. When you separate your self-worth from your failures, you give yourself the freedom to try again. You give yourself permission to fail, to learn and to grow without feeling that your value is diminished. The key to growth is persistence. Failure becomes less intimidating when you accept it as part of the journey. When you encounter failure, take a moment to reflect on what went wrong, but don't dwell on it. Don't let it keep you from moving forward. Take the lessons, apply them, and keep pushing forward. Remember, every successful person has failed, but they didn't let failure define them. They used it to fuel their next attempt. It's easy to look at someone's success and assume they've always been successful. The truth is, they've failed more times than you can count. What made them successful wasn't avoiding failure, it was how they handled it. When you embrace failure as a teacher, you begin to see every failure as an opportunity to get better, stronger, and more resilient. In fact, failure is often the fastest way to learn. You learn what doesn't work, which in turn helps you figure out what does. Every time you fail, you uncover new layers of your own potential, revealing strengths you didn't know you had. You develop patience, perseverance, and problem-solving skills that would be impossible to cultivate without experiencing failure firsthand. One of the most powerful ways to use failure as a tool for growth is to reflect on it regularly. Don't wait until you've encountered multiple failures to think about what went wrong. As soon as you face a setback, take a moment to analyze it. Ask yourself questions like, what was my goal? What steps did I take? Where did I go wrong? What can I do better next time? By continuously learning from your failures, you accelerate your growth and ensure that you're always moving forward, no matter how many setbacks you face. It's also essential to recognize that the journey of growth doesn't happen overnight. Every step, no matter how small, is progress. Even the smallest failure provides valuable lessons, and those lessons compound over time. Each time you fail and learn, you're not starting over, you're building on what you've already learned. Progress might feel slow, but every failure is a part of the process that ultimately leads to success. Growth is a marathon, not a sprint. In addition to learning from failure, it's crucial to stay motivated and committed to your goals. It's easy to become discouraged after a failure, especially if you feel like you've tried everything and nothing is working. But staying motivated is what separates those who succeed from those who give up. Even when things don't go as planned, remember why you started in the first place. Reconnect with your purpose, your passion, and your vision for the future. Your failure doesn't mean your dream is over. It means you're one step closer to figuring out how to make that dream a reality. When you learn from every small failure, you begin to reframe the way you view challenges. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you start to see them as opportunities for growth. You begin to look at each failure not as a reflection of your inability, but as a chance to refine your skills, adjust your approach, and try again. In this way, failure becomes an ally rather than an enemy. It's no longer something to fear, but something to embrace as part of your journey. The most successful people are those who have failed the most and who have used those failures as stepping stones to reach greater heights. They know that failure is not the end of the road, but simply a part of the process. They understand that every failure teaches them something new, and that the road to success is paved with lessons learned from their mistakes. So the next time you face a setback or stumble, remember that it's not the end, it's just another lesson in your journey of growth. The key is to never stop learning, never stop evolving. Every small failure, every misstep, every mistake is an opportunity to grow. If you can embrace that truth and continue moving forward with persistence and patience, you'll eventually find yourself achieving things you once thought were impossible. Keep growing, keep learning, and keep pushing forward, because every small failure brings you one step closer to your success. Chapter 20. Rebuild your mindset with action, not empty motivation. Motivation is a powerful force. It's something we all experience, often in bursts, when we feel the energy to take on new challenges and conquer our goals. It gives us the initial push to get started, to take that first step toward something greater. But motivation in its purest form is fleeting. It comes and goes, often when we need it most, leaving us with a sense of uncertainty about how to continue. The truth is, relying solely on motivation to rebuild your mindset isn't enough. What you need is something far more powerful: action. Motivation can inspire you, but it's the consistent, disciplined action that shapes the person you are becoming. Action transforms the ideas, dreams, and goals that motivation sparks into reality. Without action, motivation is just a fleeting feeling, a passing moment of inspiration that never leads to tangible results. The key to truly rebuilding your mindset is to move beyond motivation and to embrace the power of consistent action. When you rely on motivation alone, you are leaving your growth and progress up to chance. You're at the mercy of your emotions, of how you feel in a particular moment. And while there's nothing wrong with feeling motivated and excited, these feelings don't last. They can be easily extinguished by the slightest setback or by the weight of everyday life. But when you ground yourself in action, you create a system that works for you, regardless of how motivated or unmotivated you feel at any given moment. The first step to rebuilding your mindset with action is to understand that change isn't a one-time event, but a continuous process. Action is what makes change happen. It's easy to be caught up in the idea that motivation will somehow carry you through the entire journey. But this is a dangerous trap. If you wait for motivation to strike every time you need to make progress, you'll find yourself stagnant, unable to move forward. Instead, develop a habit of taking action, regardless of your motivation level. This might mean taking small steps when your energy is low, or pushing yourself harder when you feel inspired. But no matter what, the action remains the same. Action is the constant, the steady force that drives you forward even when the motivation is no longer there. Every time you take action, you build momentum. This momentum is the key to transforming your mindset and breaking free from the cycle of relying on motivation. It's in the consistent doing, the showing up, that you reprogram your brain and develop the resilience needed to pursue your goals. You create new habits, and these habits begin to shift your mindset. Over time, you start to see progress. Small wins stack up, building confidence, reinforcing your belief in your ability to create change. In the beginning, action might feel like an uphill battle. It might feel like you're forcing yourself to do something when you'd rather be doing something else, or when you feel like the progress you're making is too slow. But it's important to remind yourself that this is part of the process. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward the person you want to become. Progress doesn't need to be fast, it just needs to be steady. The key is consistency. When you focus on action rather than motivation, you remove the emotional highs and lows that often come with chasing motivation. You stop relying on the feeling of inspiration to push you forward. Instead, you become anchored in the practice of doing. And as you continue to show up and take action, regardless of your emotions, something remarkable begins to happen. Your mindset shifts. Taking action consistently forces you to confront your fears and doubts head-on. When you're in the midst of action, there's no time for overthinking or questioning yourself, you just do. And through that doing, you discover new strengths and capabilities within yourself. You realize that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined, simply because you took the first step and kept going. In rebuilding your mindset, you must also focus on the long-term game. Action over time compounds. The more you commit to consistent action, the more you learn, adapt, and grow. Each day of taking action builds upon the previous one, slowly transforming your thought patterns, behaviors, and mindset. Over time, your actions become second nature. You stop thinking about them as something you have to do, and instead you start to view them as part of who you are. The challenge comes when the initial excitement fades, when the motivation is no longer there, and you're left with the cold reality of consistency. But this is where the real work happens. Action, when done with consistency and discipline, becomes a powerful force that creates lasting change. It's in these moments of discomfort, when motivation is absent, that you build the foundation of a resilient mindset. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to act. You don't need to wait for everything to line up perfectly. You don't need to wait for motivation to strike again. The time to act is always now. It's in the doing that you start to see results, and it's in the doing that your mindset shifts from one of uncertainty and doubt to one of clarity and strength. Your mindset is not something that will change overnight. It requires daily effort, daily action. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think that a burst of motivation will fix everything, that one inspirational moment will be the key to unlocking all their potential. But this is an illusion. Real change happens when you get to work, when you get uncomfortable, when you keep going, even when you don't feel like it. Remember, action is not always glamorous. It's not always fun, but it is always powerful. When you take consistent, focused action, even in the face of resistance, you are slowly but surely rebuilding your mindset. You are changing your internal programming from one that waits for motivation to one that acts regardless of motivation. And this shift is the key to creating lasting change in your life. So the next time you feel yourself waiting for motivation to strike, stop. Instead, focus on the action. Make a plan, and then follow through. Even if it's just one small step, take it. Commit to doing something every day that moves you closer to your goals, no matter how you feel in the moment. As you continue this practice, your mindset will change, your confidence will grow, and you will become the person you once only dreamed of being. By consistently acting, even when motivation is nowhere to be found, you are reinforcing a mindset of discipline, persistence, and resilience. You are telling yourself that you don't need to rely on motivation to succeed. You just need to act. And that action, over time, will become the foundation of your success.